Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So, we traditionally read. I think it would be good this time, since we have a little time before devotees arrive. We can read this nice meaning of Vyasa Puja. Meaning of Vyasa Puja. And to be honest, just to be completely honest, over the years I've asked various senior ladies to write this, since they rarely get a chance to write anything for this, occasionally. So this year we had Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi, who you may not know. She's from Australia, and she was formerly married to Nareshwar Prabhu. She's a senior Vaishnavi there. She works as a professional editor. And so she also works on BBT publications now. In fact, I think she did that 50th anniversary souvenir thing. She did very nice work on there, getting it into shape. So this is by her. The meaning of Vyasa Puja by Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi. To fully understand the meaning of Vyasa Puja, we first need to understand the meaning of Guru. Throughout the Vaishnava texts, the prominence of the spiritual master's role in a disciple's spiritually successful life is repeatedly emphasized. One must worship the Acharya, who is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you get a book, you'll see she has all kinds of footnotes here to the Shastra. You can maybe help open this one too, one of these, so we get some nice cross. Hare Krishna. Thank you, preaching. Discipleship is a two-way street. The aspiring disciple requests his or her selected guru for initiation. And conversely, the guru examines the qualities of that person to determine his or her suitability as a candidate for initiation. The selection acceptance process is not banal, like a job seeker attending an interview with a potential employer. When Krishna sees that the jiva is sincere, he makes the arrangement for the living entity to come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master. That hooks up. Do it all the way. You'll see there's a hook on the back. Our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, commented that Chaitanya Charitamrita instructs that the Guru is the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Quote, therefore, according to all the evidence given by the Shastra, and by the practical behavior of devotees, one must accept a guru. Close quote. But what kind of guru, specifically, must one accept? Srila Prabhupada explains. This is a quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a definition of guru. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna upadesh. The bona fide guru is he who advises his disciples exactly in accordance with the principles spoken by Krishna. The bona fide guru is he who has accepted Krishna as guru. This is the Guru Parampara system. Srimad Bhagavatam 8.24-48 purport. In one sense, Vyasadeva is the original guru. Srila Prabhupada explains in that same purport. The original guru is Vyasadeva because he is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein everything spoken relates to Krishna. Therefore, Guru Puja is known as Vyasa Puja. In the final analysis, the original guru is Krishna, his disciple is Narada, whose disciple is Vyas, and in this way we gradually come in touch with the Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada's devotion and immeasurable service to the previous acharyas, to Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are proof of his position as the empowered devotee, the Senapati Bhakta, who revolutionized and transformed our lives in the gloom of Kali Yuga. This is in, I forget which book this is, this prediction. Lord Chaitanya said, Senapati is the commander-in-chief of an army. And Lord Chaitanya predicted that there would appear a Senapati Bhakta who would carry his mission all over the world. So this is often quoted, but the Senapati Bhakta is, of course, Srila Prabhupada. Proof of his position, Prabhupada's position as the empowered devotee, the Senapati Bhakta, who revolutionized and transformed our lives in the gloom of Kali Yuga. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj writes, Kali Kale Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tar Pravartan. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. I can tell a little 1-minute anecdote. Did that slam shut? They have hooks on them, so they don't slam. If you want to open the other one, can you do it, please? So, back in 1977, when right in November, I was sent to India with Mandaleshwar Prabhu, and to be with Prabhupada. We arrived on like November 16th, and we missed the actual Hare Krishna. Welcome. Yeah. So this is a special day, Okay. And so I was there on several missions because I was working with the Back to Godhead magazine, and we had heard a report that Srila Swami, Prabhupada's godbrother, had proof that Prabhupada was a Shakti-based avatar. So in addition to my going to be with Prabhupada, I was able to attend all the ceremonies afterward, and there was a big festival, and all Prabhupada's godbrothers came and spoke about it. And then we went to Mayapur to put the pushpas in the ground for the pushpa samadhi, which then grew up into what we see now as a big samadhi tomb. So after that, I went across the river to visit Sridhar Maharaj. And I came to his mat and so forth, and I was greeted by Krishnadas Babaji, who had somehow miraculously gone from Vrindavan to there without trains or anything in a matter of a day or so. And he took me up, and I told him what I was doing, and I offered him, and he said, yes, I have the proof. And he got Krishnadas Babaji to get the volume of the CC, and he read this verse. Since Prabhupada did obviously spread the chanting all over the world, he must be Krishna Shakti, be Krishna empowered with Krishna's energy, and that's the definition of a Shakti-avesh avatar. So that was an interesting little experience of mine. In June of 1970, in response to a letter from Tamal Krishna Das, who had inquired about the perfection of the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada wrote, a spiritual master is always liberated. In any condition of his life, he should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. Throughout my whole life, I do not know what is illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, or gambling. So far my present life is concerned, I do not remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada also explains in Srimad Bhagavatam that one who is surcharged with transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object. And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates. And that is right from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, text 35, purport. Sitting in Srila Prabhupada's quarters in Mayapur in 1976 during his daily afternoon darshan, I personally heard him explain this point. When an inquisitive disciple asked him if a pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere, Prabhupada held out a cupped palm of his right hand and replied, even within a drop of water, the pure devotee sees Krishna and his associates and all of his pastimes. This was a mystical moment, when we caught a glimpse into Srila Prabhupada's transcendental inner world. Later I read in Srimad Bhagavatam that the Lord's pastimes are also being televised in the heart of such a devotee. And that is in the same purport, 2.935. This was the allegory of a man who found a gourd lying on the road points to the ingenuity of the bona fide guru. This traveler later found a stick on the path and then a wire. In themselves, the separated items were not particularly useful, but by putting the gourd, the wire, and the stick together, the man made a veena and began to play beautiful music. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada came to the West and, as described in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, found some rejected youths lying here and there, and by Krishna's grace, the combination was successful. We were those rejected youths. That's going to be a little tough because now we've completely blocked that door. So one of you has to get up and leave some room. as a rock thrown in a pool creates powerful ripples affecting the entire body of water, so Srila Prabhupada brought the holy name to the West, purifying a degraded world and indeed inspiring monumental, although not universally acknowledged, change in the broader society. The ripples have eventually become a tsunami, inundating the world with the nectar of Krishna's names. Temple-based kirtans have inspired the practice of chanting these sacred sounds even in more mundane circles. We witness this with the popularity of kirtans at yoga retreats and similar venues around the globe. An essential element of bhakti yoga is therefore to worship and serve the pure devotee. Man bhakta puja vyadika. Krishna advises that worshipping his pure devotee is better than worshipping him directly. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payeche Keba, says Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Without serving a devotee, one cannot be released from material entanglement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also instructed us to worship not servants of Krishna directly, but servants of the servant of Krishna. Worship of Srila Prabhupada on Vyasa Puja Day is not restricted to those who took direct initiation from him. For ISKCON to continue to flourish, it is imperative that all ISKCON members honor Srila Prabhupada's appearance day for at least the next 10,000 years, inspired by love and respect for his divine grace and deep gratitude for the sacrifices he made for the good of humanity. Keeping our founder Acharya as the focal point of our spiritual society will assure that our spiritual lives will thrive. Shifting the focus spells disaster. Srila Prabhupada has uniquely presented the philosophy and practice of bhakti yoga in a way that is accessible to anyone, regardless of age or gender, background or birth. He has indeed cut the knots of material attachment from the core of our hearts. Just as he referred to his spiritual master, His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, as a Vaikuntha man, so we too describe our Srila Prabhupada as no ordinary spiritual master, but as Lord Chaitanya's Senapati Bhakta, the commander-in-chief of his army of devotees. This honorific is not to be taken as exaggeration or dismissed as an overflowing of the sentiments of his followers. In Sri Chaitanya Mangal, Sri Lochandas Thakur describes how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself predicted the future appearance of a great Senapati Bhakta. This is a quote, extensive quote from Chaitanya Mangal. Taking the sharp sword of the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and, giving up religious principles, go to far-off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. It's a great quote. That's the end of the quote. Srila Prabhupada is without doubt that Senapati Bhakta to be honored by all Vaishnavas. In 1967, due to ill health, Srila Prabhupada planned a return to India to recuperate. His impending departure in June of that year caused much speculation and deep concern. Could his neophyte disciples carry on if he never returned? In chapter 12 of the Hare Krishna Explosion, Hayagriva Das writes, some of the devotees, worried that Swamiji had decided to go to India to leave his body, asked him whether, during his absence, one of his godbrothers should come to America to assume ISKCON leadership. The minute this question was presented to him, we sensed that it was offensive. Swamiji became very grave, closing his eyes, and for a moment he seemed to consider it. Then suddenly we saw tears falling down his cheeks. Quote, my Guru Maharaj, he was no ordinary spiritual master, he said, wiping away the tears. He saved me. Later, Swamiji told us that we should have always known, told us what we should have always known. There was no one to replace him. The very idea was insulting. Quote, if someone comes and tells you something different, he said, you will be confused. The subject was dropped forever. The way I heard is that if someone speaks even one word different, you'll be confused. Srila Prabhupada writes in the concluding words to his Chaitanya Charitamrita, although according to material vision, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada passed away from this material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. I think that His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. It is to be admitted that whatever translation work I have done is through the inspiration of my spiritual master. because personally I am most insignificant and incompetent to do this materially impossible work. I do not think myself a very learned scholar, but I have full faith in the service of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. If there is any credit to my activities of translating, it is all due to His Divine Grace. In a Srimad Bhagavatam purport, Srila Prabhupada instructs us how to worship Him by paraphrasing the Guru Vashtaka 7. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has advised that the spiritual master acting on the Supreme Lord's behalf must be worshipped as being as good as the Supreme Lord. For he, the spiritual master, is the Lord's most confidential servant in broadcasting the Lord's message for the benefit of the conditioned souls involved in the material world. The Vyasa Puja ceremony therefore celebrates the transcendental position of that spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession. He is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. And that quote is on the back here. I can actually read this from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada writes in Adi Leela 146 purport. Only out of his immense compassion does the personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the supreme personality of Servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord of whom one must take shelter. That's on the back of the book. We picked that out. Okay. The introductory paragraph of this essay discussed the importance of accepting a guru in the disciplic succession as an essential step for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Additionally, the kind of guru is of critical importance. That spiritual master is one who has himself served a pure devotee in the disciplic succession. Trying to develop spiritual life without accepting a bona fide guru will lead only to failure. In March of 1977, in Atlanta, on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada delivered a discourse in which he emphatically instructed his disciples on the importance of accepting a bona fide spiritual master. And this is quoted from that lecture. So try to receive Krishna's grace through the disciplic succession, coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then you will understand everything. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata gorao. This is the process, Vedic process. One should have unflinching faith in God and the spiritual master. Don't jump over to God, crossing the spiritual master. Then it will be failure. You must go through. We are observing Vyasa Puja ceremony, the birth anniversary of our Guru Maharaj. Why? We cannot understand Krishna without the spiritual master. If anyone wants to understand Krishna by jumping over the spiritual master, then immediately he becomes a bogus. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Guru Krishna Kripai Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. That is the Vedic injunction. Tad vidhi pranipatena paripashnena sevya. So Guru Krishna Kripai Pai Bhakti Lata Bija means by the mercy of both the Guru and Krishna, one gets the seed of the creeper of devotion in his heart. And then Tad vidhi pranipatena paripashnena sevya. This is 434, Bhagavad Gita. One, to understand the truth, one has to approach a spiritual master, surrender to him, and ask questions and render service. Nobody can understand Krishna without going through his most confidential servant. This is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja. You cannot surpass. If you think that you have become very learned and very advanced, now you can avoid the spiritual master and you understand Krishna, that is bogus. That is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja ceremony. We should always pray, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. Yasya prasadat. Only by the grace of the spiritual master can we achieve the grace or mercy of Krishna. This is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja, offering obeisances by parampara system. That's the end of the quote. All right, a couple of more paragraphs. Further exploring the meaning of Vyasa Puja, we can pose this question. How should this sacred and ancient tradition be conducted? On February 25th, 1970, on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Vyasa Puja Day, the Los Angeles devotees saw Srila Prabhupada offer arati to a large picture of his Guru Maharaj. After the arati, he directed his disciples in offering flowers to the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Still standing before the picture, he said he had nothing to offer his spiritual master on that day except his disciples. He then read aloud the names of all his disciples. In 1970, maybe there were 100. So by contrast, in Tokyo later that year, on the 74th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, It was apparent that the devotees did not know how to observe the etiquette of celebrating the spiritual master's Vyasa Puja. He asked the devotees whether they had not seen how he had observed the Vyasa Puja of his spiritual master in Los Angeles. Confused by his request for the pushpa, flowers, devotees brought pushpana rice instead. Prabhupada scolded his disciples for concocting and for acting improperly. He said that in devotional service everything must be done properly according to the parampara method, without fabrication. The next day, wrote Satsrup Das Goswami in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, a simple traditional ceremony was performed and the devotees felt ecstatic. By pleasing the spiritual master, then everyone is pleased. All the practitioners of Bhakti Yoga are duty-bound to be loyal servants of the parampara system, being mindful of the correct way of performing devotional services to the Lord and the spiritual master. Thus, the Vyasa Puja celebration epitomizes the true meaning of faithfully following in the line of our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya without deviation and with full concentration. The Vyasa Puja day is the grand and solemn occasion when we join together throughout the world to honor our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. With hearts full of deep spiritual emotions, we meditate on the sacrifices he made out of love for his spiritual master and for all of us. Like the sparrow trying to dry up the ocean, we attempt to glorify him and express our deep love and respect for him. In a letter to Bali Mardan Das, dated August 25, 1970, Prabhupada wrote, "The spiritual master is a representative of Vyasadeva because he carries the message of Vyasadeva throughout the world. As members of ISKCON, we specifically rededicate ourselves to the lotus feet of Prabhupada, the great representative of Vyasadeva, on his Vyasa Puja day. We can resolve that every day throughout the whole year we will rededicate ourselves to serving him and his movement, and remembering that Srila Prabhupada is always with us through his Vani, his words." A couple of more sentences. Again, in the Lilamrita, Satsrup Das Goswami recounts the intense feelings of separation two members of Prabhupada's fledgling movement experienced due to his impending return to America in December of '67, after a 6-month sojourn in India to regain his health. So, this is after Prabhupada got cured, now he's coming back. When the day for Srila Prabhupada's departure finally arrived, now they're in India with Prabhupada. There's Achyutananda and one other devotee, you'll see. When the day for Srila Prabhupada's departure from India finally arrived, he Prabhupada, gave last instructions to Achyutananda and Ramanuja. You remember Ramanuja? He faded away, but he was there then. Quote, "Just pray to Lord Krishna that I can go to America," he requested Achyutananda. "How can I?" Achyutananda replied. "You'll be leaving us." "No," Srila Prabhupada replied, "we'll always remain packed up together if you remember my teachings. If you preach, you will become strong, and all these teachings will be in the proper perspective. When we stop our preaching, then everything becomes stagnated and we lose our life." And finally, she writes, Krishna Rupa, "If we remain sincere and honor Srila Prabhupada not only on his Vyasa Puja day, but every moment of our lives, his ISKCON will continue to thrive and our lives will be successful. We will remain packed up with Srila Prabhupada. The mission of the spiritual master is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Srila Prabhupada's mission is our mission. That is the true meaning of Vyasa Puja." Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi. So, very wonderful offering. All right, why don't we read this classic poem that Srila Prabhupada wrote for the 1935 Vyasa Puja of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's called "Adore, Adore Ye All the Happy Day." I'm going to read this introduction because it's... Srila Prabhupada wrote the following poem in February 1935 on the occasion of the Vyasa Puja celebration of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. It delighted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, especially the 6th stanza, which Bhaktisiddhanta felt captured the essence of his preaching against the Mayavadis. After reading this poem, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was especially keen that Prabhupada preach and write in English. So the following version of the poem, just to let you know, the following version of the poem was prepared from 2 sources. The version Srila Prabhupada included in the March 1952 edition of his Back to Godhead magazine, and the version he personally wrote by hand on the back of a letter he sent Rai Rama Das on March 20th, 1969. "Adore, adore ye all the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May, when he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, Give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope, your divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways to turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all distress, the only hope, your divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a meaningful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of brace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute ascension thou hast proved, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. This gives a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save me, a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. Okay, so now we have a book full of homages. And I'm just wondering which ones we should read first, because people will be coming all morning, gradually filling up. And okay, well, this is a nice offering. This is the first offering. Anuttama Das, member of the GBC, and he's given a nice summary here about how Prabhupada's purposes of ISKCON, you remember, to propagate the conscious Krishna, and to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, erect for members in society a large, a holy place of transcendental. There's 8 of these, and he's showing how each one of them is being fulfilled now by the spread of ISKCON. Dear Srila Prabhupada, he offers obeisances. It is said that the test of a man's greatness is to measure the long-term impact of his life and teachings, to see if his legacy continues to inspire and guide others after his passing from the world. It has been more than 40 years since you physically left this world, Srila Prabhupada, and 50+ years since you established ISKCON. But as time passes, your memory is not fading. Instead, time itself is revealing your place in history. Your impact has been momentous, and it continues to grow year by year. In addition to establishing the ISKCON movement, writing your books, opening temples and rural communities, and traveling around the globe to teach and preach, you inspired a core of dedicated followers. Today, those followers and your own Vani, words, are inspiring others, and the Hare Krishna movement is having an impact on the global stage. As my offering to you this year, I highlight a few of the many astounding things that continue to evolve because of your desire and your vision. Specifically, how your legacy is expanding through the work of your dedicated followers. We can measure your greatness in part by the achievements of those who follow you. Below are a few examples of the millions of Vaishnavas who are carrying the 7 purposes of your ISKCON mission forward, proving that the life, teachings, and legacy of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada continue to bring positive changes in the world. So then he starts listing the purposes. ISKCON's first purpose: to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. Now he explains, inspired and guided by you, Shaunaka Rishi Das established the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, OCHS, 20 years ago in Oxford, England, one of the modern bastions of learning. Shaunaka Rishi and his supporters have created an acclaimed academic center. OCHS has produced dozens of highly educated men and women, doctorates and professors, who teach in universities, publish scholarly books, and conduct in-depth research into the Vaishnava tradition and other Vedic traditions. One such as Krishna Chaitra Prabhu. He's a PhD and he's written books. He wrote a nice PhD thesis on deity worship. Inspired by your vision, OCHS is robustly, quote, propagating spiritual knowledge to society at large at the highest intellectual levels. Purpose 2, to propagate a consciousness. Of course, this doesn't exhaust the examples of how that's being done. All the book distribution and other preaching is doing it too. Purpose 2, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Through 6,000 annual festivals, 3,600 weekly home study groups, and Sunday feasts and other programs at 650 ISKCON temples worldwide, your followers are systematically propagating a consciousness of Krishna on a global scale. In India alone, 1.2 million school children are fed healthy, sanctified vegetarian prasadam lunches 6 days a week through ISKCON food relief programs, thus ensuring those children a healthier life, a better education, and a lifelong appreciation for the kindness of ISKCON and its founder Acharya. These are just a few examples of how your desire to spread awareness of Sri Krishna's glories continues to inspire Krishna-conscious activism throughout the world. Purpose 3. To bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. Many devotees have been inspired by this aspect of your mission. One example is the Grihastha Vision team, led by your disciple Krishnanandini Dasi and her husband Tariq. The dedicated couples of the GVT, that's the Govinda Vision team, Grihastha Vision team, strengthen devotee families by teaching seminars, training mentors, counseling couples, and sharing wisdom via their book, Heart and Soul Connection. By promoting understanding, honesty, respect, and loving relationships among family members, these disciples and grand-disciples of yours have brought thousands of devotees closer together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity. Purpose 4, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada, there is a kirtan revolution exploding among the younger generations of your followers. Many thousands of these young men and women have developed a deep love for chanting Krishna's names. They organize 24-hour kirtans. They stay up late at temples and congregate at homes to chant together. They record music. They perform at yoga studios and at colleges and parks. They love the Lord's names, and they love you for giving them the gift of the holy name. And that love is reverberating around the world as millions more, influenced by your pure desire and the enthusiasm of these young Vaishnavas, are awakening their attraction to kirtan. Purpose 5, to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. Your beloved disciple Ambarish Das, Alfred Ford, and his staff of professional devotees are erecting a stunning temple of the Vedic planetarium in Mayapur. Year by year, brick by brick, the entire ISKCON society is contributing to building this beautiful and holy place. This year, as the golden chakras were raised above our heads and onto the temple domes, it was clear from the smiles and laughter of thousands of Vaishnavas present that, as you envisioned, a world-class holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna is rising on the banks of the sacred Ganges. Purpose 6, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. While the world cries out for an end to the environmental degradation, but struggles to rein in the greed and lust that cause it, your grand disciple Gauranga Das and a troop of dedicated supporters are showing the world how to live simply at the Govardhan Eco Village, GEV, in Maharashtra. The United Nations World Tourism Organization gave the community an award for innovation in non-governmental organizations for its sustainable practices. Inspired by your teachings, Srila Prabhupada, the GEV empowers local farmers, draws appreciation from famed environmentalists, and is having a global impact in teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. Purpose 7, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. Under the leadership of Vaisheshika Das, Vijay Das, and many others, your book distribution is gaining ever new life. In our earliest days, book distribution was successful, but also costly. Our enthusiasm was sometimes overzealous and damaged the reputation of ISKCON. Today, however, devotees are taught the importance of book distribution balanced with the priority of making friends. The prime objective, quote, to leave everyone with a good impression. The result, in North America alone over the last 5 years, book distribution has tripled. And in 2016 and 2017, the North American BBTs sold a total of more than $4 million worth of books. Internationally, in addition to selling millions of your books, new languages are added almost every year. Under your continued guidance, Srila Prabhupada, periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings are being published and distributed as never before. Srila Prabhupada, as scholar and historian, Dr. Thomas J. Hopkins stated during the 50th anniversary of ISKCON event at Harvard University's Center for the Study of World Religions, you were, quote, a one-man channel for an entire culture and religious tradition. He added that there, quote, is no clear parallel to your achievements in the history of world religions. And he said, quote, ISKCON has done at least as well as Christianity and Islam in its first 50 years. 40 years after your departure, Srila Prabhupada, your followers are increasingly inspired by your example, your mission, and your love for Lord Krishna. Historians and scholars of religion, too, are noting more and more of your achievements. While most people are forgotten within 40 years of their passing, your name, your legacy, your mission, and your love are only beginning to bear fruit. You, Srila Prabhupada, are a great man, a noble man, a world-changing man, and a transcendental man. You are our life, our soul, our guide, our guru, our founder Acharya. We pledge our lives to helping the world understand you, and through you, themselves, and the eternally youthful, unlimitedly beautiful Lord Sri Krishna. Your disciple and eternal servant, Anuttama Das. Very inspiring. Well, let's explore a couple more. I thought I'd wait a little bit till there are more people here. Yeah, we have till 11, so. All right, so this every year, Varshana Maharaj, and each year, by the way, there are added sannyasis. There's over 100 sannyasis now in ISKCON, so this makes my job a little harder because they like to write offerings. But I'm going to read this one from Varshana Maharaj. He usually writes a beautiful prose, but this year he chose to do a poem. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to your divine grace and sacred mission. Among the host of your Guru's disciples, you alone fulfilled the order to carry his message more brilliant than the sun, to dissipate darkness on western shores. Through storms that swept the ocean, you brought tidings from afar to proclaim that night was ending, like the early morning star. Seemingly alone, impoverished, you arrived within our midst, giving to all, looking for one who might understand the treasure of divine love overflowing from your heart. You found a generation born of wealth who nothing of this world could satisfy. Children lost, unfulfilled, our hearts starving, dry, suppressed. Drawn to follow you, leaving all else behind, we found spiritual fulfillment and our hearts were satisfied. Bhakti became our daily bread, rasa quenched our deepest thirst, and in Krishna's holy name we found life's very breath. What followed would be unbelievable other than the fact that it is true. The prophesied golden age dawning in your words before our very eyes. As you sang praise of Lord Gauranga and chanted Krishna's name, sleeping souls arose to the light of truth, finding new hope in the dawning day. Shuddha Nam descended to dance upon your lips, resonating in our hearts, awakening our love. You sang of your beautiful homeland, surrendered soul's most treasured goal, where there is neither birth nor death, though years of eternity roll. Successive chapters have opened as previous ones have closed. Twilight has come and darkness ensues. Shades of night cast shadowy hues. The messenger of the waters is with us no more. Jaladuta's last voyage sailed back to her eastern shore. Yet you still hold the helm and continue to chart the course, guiding the way to our final destination. With the music of your homeland resounding in our ears, our hearts are drawn to join you there, beyond the veil of tears. The way you lead us now is deeper than before, for communion speaks through separation, cleansing comes through tears. By hearing we can see you are closer to us than we are to ourselves in the loving embrace of your Vani words. The treasure of our inheritance awaits in the literary temple you created, admittance to the inner sanctum granted to those who serve your mission. The lotus feet of Lord Gauranga are there enshrined, leading beyond majestic Vaikuntha to that charming land, Chintamani Dham. The enchanting pastoral realm where the sweetness of Krishna's love abounds, eclipsing the notion that he is God, proclaiming that bhakti reigns supreme. From there, your eternal residence, so far away from here, we hear your voice calling, ever so clear. Even though I lag behind, bound to mortal frame, in your words I find my guide, my life, my home, everything to sustain. It is with this assurance that we celebrate this day, when you bless the earth by your glorious birth. On this most sacred occasion, please enrich our remembrance of the love we found in you, who remain our faithful companion in times of joy as well as tears. Unite us in the memories growing fonder every day. Bestow the faith and patience to nurture us all the way. Bless our attempts to follow your footprints in word and deed as well, to harmonize through endless praise every heartbeat, moment, breath, and day. May the divine grace of Srila Vyasadeva, who descended with your appearance, continue to sing in your living words, to breathe new and eternal life into the hearts of all the world. Your Das Anudas, servant of the servant, Varshana Swami. He's always writes wonderful offerings. Okay. Let's hear one from Satyanandan Swami. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarani. Recently I spoke to a very wonderful godbrother who shared a realization concerning his relationship with you. He said that the older he grows, the more he realizes that he has not done much to repay you. He felt troubled by that. Now this disciple is renowned for having done amazing services both within our society of devotees and outside in secular society as well. I was intrigued by his feelings, given what I know of him, and decided to find out more. I listed for him some of the impressive services I knew he had rendered to you. He was uncomfortable, as I went on enumerating his amazing offerings. Finally, he stopped me before I could finish sharing my long list. I then said, "See, objectively speaking, you have done a lot. No need to feel uncomfortable." He became serious. "Please don't test me. You know as well as I that in comparison to what Srila Prabhupada has given us, all that we try to give him is insignificant." That brought the discussion to another level. Both of us began listing the gifts you've given us, Srila Prabhupada. We could not finish the list. I just read how you once told one of your disciples, "I am giving you the kingdom of God. Here, take it." Truly nothing can compare even slightly with that. It's a different league of gift. Then he has a subtitle here, "The Way of Mercy." Once you asked a disciple, "Which way do you think is better, the monkey way or the cat way?" She couldn't imagine what you meant, so you continued. "The monkey baby climbs on the back of the mother and holds on, and in this way he travels. The kitten is carried in the teeth of the mother, so which is better?" She still couldn't understand which way could be better. They both sounded equally difficult. Then you gave a hint. "The monkey baby is very small and very weak, and he is holding on to the mother by his own strength. But the kitten is being supported by the strength of his mother. So which way do you think is better?" And then she understood. "The cat way is better." "Yes," you said, "that is the difference between the yogi and the devotee. The yogi is trying to climb on the back of the absolute truth by his own strength, but he's very weak, so he will fall. But the devotee cries out for Krishna. And as you spoke the word Krishna, you held your arms up high and looked up at the clear morning sky. Krishna! A devotee cries out for Krishna, and Krishna picks him up. And then Satyananda says, "This is the way of mercy, the safe way, the descending way. Trying to reach Krishna on our own is like trying to catch the moon with our hands. Impossible. Krishna's mercy descends to the disciple through the spiritual master. The Guru obtains from Krishna the gift of mercy, powerful, life-giving mercy, much as the cloud receives its water from the ocean. That mercy removes all obstacles from the disciple's path and bestows love of Krishna. And by that mercy, everything is possible. The disciple only has to keep on serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And then he has one other little section, the leaping lion. One of the great poets of the Sri Sampradaya, Vedanta Deshika, expressed this same idea using the very apt analogy of a leaping lion. Quote, when a lion leaps from one hill to another, the little ants on its body are transported with him. Similarly, when Ramanujacharya leaped over this world of repeated birth and death, we were saved because of our connection with him. Dear Srila Prabhupada, for me, you are that leaping lion who picked me up from the material world. On your auspicious appearance day, I pray for that mercy. As always, I am your ant-like disciple, and I desperately require your kind blessings. Your humble servant, Satchidananda Swami. Nice. Any requests? We have some famous old-timers here. Although I got to admit, they're getting fewer. Who? Whose? Mine? I'm also waiting a few minutes. Hopefully there'll be other people coming. All right, let's hear some from places we haven't heard from for a while. Oh, well, here we go. New Govardhan, USA. This was written by Jagannath Tirtha Prabhu. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nibhishesha Shunyavadi Pastavista. Dear Srila Prabhupada, no words can adequately convey the gratitude and appreciation my heart holds for you. Mark Twain once said, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The first day was both a blessing. The first day was both a blessing because I was given another chance to find this and serve Krishna, and a curse because I was set free in a madhouse of sense enjoyment among the spiritually blind and uninformed. The second of those 2 days came when I first encountered your instructions in the form of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. I was amazed at its piercing clarity and thorough presentation of clear, convincing philosophy concerning the soul, this world, and what was worth striving for. Revival of our eternal relationship with the ultimate object of our desires, Lord Sri Krishna. The Song of God explained the why of my life. I was raised Catholic and given a different vision of God and the universe, one which was more impersonal and devoid of the answers my soul needed to be truly happy. Your words cut through the dense forest of doubts I harbored in my heart and blazed a clear path I could logically follow to revive my dormant love for the Supreme Lord. I did not understand the importance of your role in spreading Krishna consciousness in the West and the world abroad until I came to the New Govardhan temple and began associating with the devotees. Like a touchstone that converts useless lead to gold, you transformed the lost and misguided into stalwart representatives of the absolute truth and tireless servants of Sri Sri Radha and Govinda. In the New Testament, Mark 6:4, it is written, Then Jesus told them, a prophet is without honor only in his hometown, among his relatives, and in his own household. Your wife, your family, and your peers could not see in you what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw. His instruction to you to preach Krishna consciousness in the West changed not only your life, but the whole world. It was your tireless and magnanimous efforts, your divine grace, that truly saved me and everyone else like me. Like a shepherd calling back his flock from the field at the end of the day, you have brought so many of us wayward souls back to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. At Srimad Bhagavatam 11.746, Lord Krishna says, a saintly person, just like fire, sometimes appears in a concealed form and at other times reveals himself. For the welfare of the conditioned souls who desire real happiness, a saintly person may accept the worshipable position of spiritual master. And thus, like fire, he burns to ashes all the past and future sinful reactions of his worshippers by mercifully accepting their offerings. It was your sincerest wish that we take the Krishna consciousness seriously, deeply study your teachings, and spread Krishna consciousness to others. This year, many members of the New Govardhan community have taken up the mantle of firm spiritual commitment and become initiated by one of your surrendered representatives. I am honored to be one of the neophyte souls striving to continue the work you have started, and I am helping my wife to do the same. There is no way we can ever repay you for the good fortune you have bestowed upon us. Please bless us so that we may continue to serve Shri Shri Radha Giridhari and spread Lord Chaitanya's message to one and all. Your servants at New Govardhan Dham, SanDiego, California. Written by Jagannath Tirtha Das. Nice. A worthy offering. Okay. Well, let's see. Trying to recall some of these. Please, have a seat. Oh, you have work to do? Oh, make your choice. They need help. You got your helpers. You came to take away part of my audience? You came to take the audience away. I'm just kidding. Please, please. Can we try to see if it's pumped into the kitchen? Okay. How about Radhadesh? Radhadesh has an interesting name. Radhadesh. Yeah, in Belgium. Radhadesh has nothing to do with Radha, originally. It's Radhadesh, not Radhadesh. It's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is the place in Bengal where the Ganges doesn't flow. It's a place a little, I think, west of the... So they picked that name for this wonderful school and establishment there in Belgium. But inevitably it became known as Radhadesh, as Radha's place. Everyone thinks of it that way, so that's why we don't put any diacritics on. Dear Srila Prabhupada, we, the Radhadesh Vasis, beg to offer our prostrated obeisances to the dust of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, these days the ISKCON world is largely focused on the temple of the Vedic planetarium, now under construction in Sridham Mayapur. Recently we were blessed to receive 2 saintly devotees who are begging charity for this mammoth devotional project. Jananivas and Brajavilas Prabhus are performing extreme tapasya in order to serve you by encouraging devotees to assist you in making the Adbhuta Mandir manifest. Adbhuta Mandir means amazing temple. These highly praiseworthy devotees are tolerating unbearable separation from the Dham, and Brajavilas Prabhu has literally broken his back in the course of his service. Yet still he continues to travel and inspire devotees to surrender resources big and small so that we can participate, even at a distance, in bringing the temple of the Vedic planetarium to fruition. And here is a quote that's repeated in this book 6 or 7 times, especially in reference to Prabhupada. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 8.7.44. It is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of the people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. Although here at Radhadesh our contribution is insignificant in comparison to the colossal undertaking of the TOVP, we are nevertheless encouraged and hopeful when we hear about that project, see presentations of its progress through social media, and most significantly, see the example of those great souls, including our own Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu and his devoted wife Vinod Manjari Devidasi, who are giving everything to fulfill this cherished desire of yours. They inspire us to look internally and question ourselves about how we can surrender more to your instructions and guidelines on the path of bhakti. Quote, this is from Bhagavad Gita 10:4-5 purport. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters. The measure of our realization of the unlimited devotional resources you have continued to make available to us is how we utilize them in our service to you, to the disciplic succession, to the Lord, and to one another, and how we extend that mercy to the floundering souls so desperately in need of it. We beg for your continued compassion, guidance, and blessings, so that we may progress in a way that brings satisfaction to you, aspiring to serve the servants of your servants, your descendants in Radhadesh, Belgium. Interesting. Okay. Here's a short one from Togo. Do you even know where Togo is? Yeah, it's a little place. Well, you know because you're from Mauritius. Yeah, we get one practically every year from ISKCON Togo. Namah Vishnu Badaya, Om Jnana. Dear Srila Prabhupada, for millions of births we have been mlechas. In this lifetime, we were the most abominable mlechas, committing all kinds of sinful activities. O Divine Father, our only glimmer of hope is to take shelter at your lotus feet, to hear the words emanating from your lotus-like mouth, and to take your instructions as our life and soul. Srila Prabhupada, your words, your books, your smile, these are the only things that matter in our lives. You alone have rekindled our desire to live, not in this material world, but in the eternal kingdom of God. To you we offer our prostrated obeisances, crores of millions of times. Your servants at ISKCON Togo. Tokyo. Oh wait, here we'll do this poem from Tucson. Every year Sandamani Mataji writes a nice poem. This year is no exception. Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Shunyabadi Paschacha Deshtarini. Rhymes of love. Whatever we do it for you, taking on challenges and seeing them through, preaching your purports, knowing they're true, standing strong, humble Tucson crew. From early rising, chanting Krishna's names, energizing hearts' sacred flames, hearing you chant, hearing you speak, we try memorizing the shlokas complete. Absorbed in japa, hearts mobilizing, giving full attention, postpone organizing, corralling the mind, stop criticizing, simply hear Krishna's names, you're emphasizing. So she's fighting with her mind. People love Govinda's prasadam appetizing, ambience of love, it's so tantalizing. We chant and preach, your books crystallizing, melodious kirtan, holy names mesmerizing. No one's impressed by false moralizing or praying politicians who try galvanizing, pseudo well-wishers. They're only patronizing, living your teachings, the best advertising. Your instructions are truth, no compromising. Your books and your wisdom worth analyzing. Inspired by your words, would it be so surprising if the cheated world staged a spiritual uprising? Getting on in years, now I'm realizing the next generation may be more enterprising. Let them do well, but keep on advising. Roots grown much deeper, Sangha stabilizing. We've given our lives, you've given the glue that binds us together, only bhakti is true. Pleasing and healthy like morning dew, loving Lord Krishna like the sky, oh so blue. Your servants at ISKCON of Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, written by Sandamani. Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay, here's a little one from the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Far East, Middle East. This is written by Satyanarayan Das, who's pioneered this distribution of books in Arabic, not in Arabia, but here in the streets of Los Angeles and other big cities, where there are always tourists coming from there, the rich, and they love the books because they're in their own language, and so they take them home. Many of them are small books. They just came out with the Bhagavad Gita. There's some nice pictures here of Arabic tourists and students with Prabhupada's books in their own language. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances in the blessed dust beneath your lotus feet. Eternal glories unto you, Srila Prabhupada. May we submit our humble report that more than 60,000 of your small books in Arabic have been distributed so far to Arab tourists and university students visiting or temporarily studying throughout North America and Europe, as well as in the UK, the Far East, Australia, New Zealand, and India. And now, by your divine grace, we have published a new, meticulously translated Arabic edition of your Bhagavad Gita as it is, and as illustrated in the photos on the opposite page, once you can see them, with many more at, and he gives a website here, Facebook website. Arabs worldwide have begun receiving it, with both the Gita, with both surprise, delight, and profound happiness. These sincere souls seem to be reaching out for answers now more than ever, with such an earnestness that of all the languages we are charged to serve, our fastest selling language of all is Arabic. Exclamation point. Can you, Prabhu, get me some water? One of you. Oh, you have a problem with your foot. Okay. Yeah, one of these tables with the water thing, and make sure there's water in it. This is a big marathon for me here. Srila Prabhupada, we know just how much you wish this Muslim world preaching to happen. Since you personally expressed this in such a divine and ecstatic way on that beautiful autumn afternoon in your room in Sri Vrindavan Dham on November 9th, 1976. So this is a story that Satyanarayan often tells. With Vyasaki Prabhu, Satyanarayan went to Kashmir, I think it was, which was then a Muslim country. It was part of Pakistan. And they distributed a few books in the university or something, and then they came back and they met Prabhupada in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada was overjoyed. He says, I personally bow down to anyone who preaches in the Muslim countries. You're sure to go back to Gada, just keep, in the Muslim country. To actually try to distribute books in a Muslim country. So that has lasted throughout his life. That was over 40 years ago. And Satyanarayan distributes, has been working on this project and now is bearing fruit. May we therefore end this brief report with the best news of all. Virtually all of the Arabic books sold in the Western world find their way back to the Middle Eastern countries themselves when all these students and tourists take them back home with them. They feel such gratitude when receiving the books, and they take them home as special treasures to share with their dearest friends and family. Could it be that the Lord himself so much wishes to fulfill this deepest desire of yours, Srila Prabhupada, that he is actually turning these fortunate Arabs into your own book distributors, who carefully bring your transcendental literatures into all the places we could never go ourselves? Srila Prabhupada, please shower your mercy on both ISKCON's book distributors and these fortunate Arab book distributors, so that this miracle will only increase more and more for your transcendental pleasure. Your servants at the offices of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Far East, Middle East, written by Satyanarayan Prabhu. Well, here's one from the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, North America, which is what I'm part of, but I didn't write this. This was written by Suradas, who we can all pray for. He's suffering more from his diabetes, but he's carrying on, chanting and distributing books. He offers obeisance to Prabhupada. Life's so short, we make it very hard. It's simple for the pure in heart. There's a purpose, a reason that we're here, more than just playing a part. The mission at hand has been spoken, that every woman and man in all lands get a book. The mission of man has been woven in every village and town all around the world. There's a conquest of cultural concern, a renaissance of humankind. East and West in chanting and your books, the world will note the change in time. The mission at hand has been spoken, that every woman and man in all lands gets a book. The mission of man has been woven in every village and town all around the world. I can't serve my senses anymore. It's only chewing the chewed. My life is meant for more than this. There's a place beyond the Krishna. One engaged in Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, traveling around the planet with the Padayatra party. All glories to you for having launched this very blissful and effective program. On the occasion of the auspicious 102nd anniversary of your birth, we are very happy to report to you
Rama Rama Hare Hare
But it is actually the 122nd anniversary. On the occasion of the auspicious 122nd anniversary of your birth, we are very happy to report to you that 26 Padayatras, 16 of them in India, mostly bullock carts, took place in 2017. There are still 2 ongoing Padayatras on the roads of Bharat. They are the All India Padayatra,
Krishna
now in
Hare Hare Rama Hare
we hope that the 4 new one-day Padayatras will expand their scope and duration in the future, as congregation member of this town Ahmedabad has done. The one-day walks he organizes every month attract more than 100 devotees and serve as an inspiration to neighboring Christian temples in Gujarat, such as Baroda and Vallabha.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Last year saw a total of 13 new Padayatras all over the world, 7 in India, 4 in Europe, and 2 long solo walks, one by Bhakti March, across the U.S., and one by Kishore Prabhupada from New Zealand, who walked 240 miles from Mahatma Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad to Dundee, to place the Stars against salt. Kishore Prabhupada chose a corresponding theme, enough salt. He walked alone, carrying a veena like no other man, constantly chanting and singing the glories of the Lord. He was warmly received wherever he went, winning the hearts of the pious people. On the way, he interacted with them on a one-on-one basis, as well as addressing gatherings in the evenings in his hosts' homes. His walk caught the attention of the leading newspapers in Gujarat, who appreciated his public and hopeful that ISKCON Tirupati will launch their Padayatra very soon. I'm excited to learn that their plans to have a permanent Padayatra traveling around the state of Andhra Pradesh. Srila Prabhupada, on 14th December 1976, you responded to my letter appealing for financial assistance from the temples, saying, "Do not depend on outside help. For financial support, depend on Krishna. Also, Krishna. We maintaining our youth talent by selling books. That is one. In foreign countries, they are distributing money is needed that you have to collect. You can't expect money from outside. We have been raising our own money for some time now. We have finally gotten our act together. The devotees on our All India Padayatra party are raising sufficient funds and doing some amazing things. Last year, they distributed a grand total of 1,109 books, 63,000 Mahabharata books, 7.1 thousand Vedic books, 200 readings, and 35,000 Vajrayana, thus marking a steady increase from previous years. In the May World Sankirtan newsletter, they placed second in all the temple categories, with only Mayapur ahead of them. Every day, they distributed hundreds of Bhagavad Gita and other big books in order to
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Sangha was us to explain his particular way of moving, and especially he borrowed from the Indian railway. This speed was very heartening to us Padyatrans, so we modified and explained it. Keep the bullet cart wheels rolling, and the other good news is that the first book on Padayatra, fulfilling a prophecy by Advaita Shiromani, Abhadita Shiromani Das.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Your presence and mercy made many miracles happen.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
First volume describes your own humble Padayatra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
At our recent meeting held in Manipur, I made a presentation of Padayatra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
This is not He once told the disciple, "This tractor is the downfall of the Indian village system, because it does work of 10 men. As soon as farmers stopped using oxen, they sent them to the slaughterhouses. You instructed me to go to the farm in Hyderabad and encourage the devotees to develop Padayatra with their bulls. With concern for the environment and animal rights increasing, it is high time devotees preach strongly about cow protection and ox power by practically demonstrating how useful these animals are. When Padayatra America started to use oxen, we saw the impact it had on Americans, reflected in the large number of newspaper articles on that topic. We're also encouraging the organizers of World Holy Name Week to promote the Bullock Cart Sankirtan Padayatra, partially or entirely. It is not surprising that your last desire was to go on Bullock Cart Padayatra to Govardhan. Padayatra was very close to your heart. You said that, quote, we can have millions of bullock carts all over the world, thus suggesting how easy it would be to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's every town and village prophecy by using this approach. Being a pure devotee of Sri Sri Gauranatai and a powerful visionary, you were and still are supremely empowered to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world through every means possible, including, of course, Padayatra. Your servants at the Padayatra Ministry, written by Lokanath Swami and Gaurangi Devi Dasi, who used to be here. Remember Bhakti Baba, were you here at the time? Gaurangi was here. All right. All other sources. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Back to Godhead Magazine. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisance at your lotus feet. In your early issues of Back to Godhead, you sometimes ran the subtitle, An Instrument for Training the Mind and Educating Human Nature to Rise up to the Plane of the Spirit Soul. Excuse me, to rise up to the plane of the soul spirit. Interesting. Today, despite the changes that have occurred in the world and in your ISKCON movement over the years, your magazine still elevates the minds and natures of its readers to the plane of the soul. In your early issues, you routinely urged readers to subscribe to Back to Godhead, your reasoning being that training requires repetition. By subscribing to BTG, readers would be regularly reminded of the most important business of human life, and over time, they would learn more and more of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Today, most BTG readers receive the magazine regularly, and the authors assume that readers are at least somewhat familiar with the teachings being presented. This allows the authors the freedom to write with greater depth. As for the authors themselves, the magazine still follows your model. Any practicing ISKCON devotee can submit articles for consideration. Krishna is inspiring devotees to write for BTG, and every year we receive enough articles that meet your philosophical and literary standards to fill every issue. Our hope is that the circulation of Back to Godhead will grow as your movement grows, and that more and more people will benefit by rising to the plane of the soul by the mercy of this great gift of yours, one of the many you left to re-spiritualize the world. Hare Krishna, your servants at Back to Godhead magazine. Okay. What else we got here? Well, how about Detroit? Oh, China. China. We used to not be able to put China. We had to put Kasa Desh. Kasa, you know, there's a verse. Kiratahu nana pulunda pulkisha abirishimba yavana kasadeya. Kasa. Kasa is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, the Chinese. The Mongolians, that whole area is called the Kasa races. They were once in India, but they left, and then they became more degraded. So to hide it from the government, so-called, we put Kasa Desh, although I'm sure they knew what it meant. But now we can say China. Things have improved. Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatayam. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please kindly allow me to offer my most humble obeisances unto the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to your divine grace and your ISKCON. All glories to your dedicated servants who tirelessly spread the glories of the holy names. It was on a fateful summer night in 1987 that I first saw your devotees in my old school's auditorium. While everything is still fresh in my memory, as if it happened yesterday, I am no longer the 13-year-old bhakti young boy who was wandering about looking for answers to the mysteries of life and death. With a mere snap of the fingers, 30 years have gone by since the Krishna consciousness movement officially started in China. The Chinese devotees are eternally indebted to those great souls headed by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, who were totally sold out to the China mission, following your divine grace's instructions. They pushed aside all obstacles and engaged their bodies, minds, and words in bringing the matchless spiritual gift of Krishna consciousness to the people living in China. For the Chinese devotees, the only possible way to try to repay their debt to you and your pioneering disciples is to present Krishna consciousness in appropriate and effective ways to more of our compatriots. Over these 3 full decades, we have witnessed many Chinese people being blessed by becoming Krishna conscious. Over these 3 full decades, we have witnessed many devotees become battle-hardened from the twists and turns of preaching in China,
and yet remain fixed in their service to your lotus feet. And over these 3 full decades, we have also witnessed many struggles, confusion, and even misery among devotees, and we grieve for those who left your shelter. In the early 90s, Tamal Krishna Goswami said that China is fertile soil for spreading Krishna consciousness because it is like Mother Earth. No sense gratification like that in heaven, that is, Western countries, and no sufferings like those in hell, that is, extremely poor countries where people find it difficult to acquire the basic necessities of life. Thus, he said, it is quite easy to make devotees in China. He saw the huge potential in the character of the Chinese people. Still, the speed of the spread of Krishna consciousness is far behind the quickening pace of the spread of Kali's influence. Quote, "One moon is brighter than thousands of stars," is a slogan often heard among devotees, and many take it as a way to explain why there are relatively so few devotees Krishna devotees in China. After all, not everyone can afford to purchase a diamond. But wait, we are actually seeing that countless spiritual groups are becoming increasingly influential in the daily lives of the Chinese people. Many of these groups maintain high standards and are attracting a good number of qualified followers. We may have something to learn from these groups. What are the challenges lying ahead for the Krishna consciousness movement in China? How can we become more deeply rooted in this land of 1.3 billion people? Should we emphasize strictness of practice or the prasadam, teachings, and lifestyle? Should we stress the relationships of the practitioners of Krishna consciousness with their family, with their co-workers, with society, etc.? Which one, or all of them? How can we find the balance between fundamentalism and liberalism, or find a formula that can best represent your teachings while attracting more Chinese people? Different devotees answer these questions in diverse ways. Crafting an effective preaching strategy for China will remain a crucial topic of discussion for the foreseeable future. But no one should doubt that something must be done to address this challenge, for this country is unique in its ways of cultural presentations, its thinking, and its social circumstances. While holding on tight to the core principles of your teachings, we are scratching our heads to try to find more effective ways to present Krishna consciousness to the hankering, conditioned souls of Kasadesh, China. As China's 30 years of economic achievements attract worldwide attention, Chinese authorities have widely acknowledged that social morality and favorable family and national traditions are being abandoned, thus creating chaos. Krishna consciousness has so much to offer the Chinese people, a way to rectify this situation and bring real happiness and harmony to society. But as you often stressed, Srila Prabhupada, of fundamental importance is that ISKCON members must set good examples in their daily lives to be able to convince people to take shelter of your lotus feet and make Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction come true. Dear Srila Prabhupada, resolving all these issues will not be easy, but we must do so if we want the Chinese authorities and people in general to begin to appreciate your movement and take seriously the chanting of the holy names and the authority of our sacred scriptures. Please bless us, Srila Prabhupada, so that by the humble and unremitting endeavor of your faithful followers, we will find the strategies and tactics that will enable us to fulfill the purpose of your divine appearance, to facilitate the chanting of the holy names of Krishna in every town and village, including those in China. Hare Krishna, your faithful servants in China, written by Krishna Das. Maybe a pseudonym. Yeah, go ahead. Please. Tirthabraj, the old Tirthabraj. But
so he was stopped coming through from the Hong Kong side in China, and we stopped at the kiosk there. If you go room, they brought a guy in. Another guy in with more gold braid, they brought him a the fat pig gets killed. And then he left. What does that mean? What it means if you become too prominent, if you go and do Harinam in Tiananmen Square, we're going to lock you up. But if you quietly do what you're doing, we know exactly what you're doing, and we like it. Just be, you know. So that's the situation in China.
Keep it on the down low.
Huh?
Keep it on the down low.
Keep it on the down low, but we like what you're doing.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay. Detroit. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Bhagavate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachayani Divishesha Shunyavadi Paschacharati Shatayani. Our dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our most respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to you and your ultimate blessing for humanity, the family of ISKCON, which has grown to very nearly 1 million members worldwide. There are around 100 dedicated frontline generals who are constantly preaching to bring more and more lost souls under the umbrella of your causeless mercy. Every year, the worldwide distribution of your books steadily increases. New temples and centers are being established each year so that more and more souls can take shelter at your lotus feet. Practically every day, somewhere in the world, there is a Krishna conscious festival being celebrated, giving a blissful experience to all participants. Every moment, somewhere in the world, your prasadam is being served to fortunate souls. O ever well-wisher of every living entity, all glories to your causeless mercy on all of us. Here at the Deva Southern Mandir, as people enter the temple room, they are greeted by you from your Vyasasan and introduced to the mesmerizing deities of Sri Sri Gaur-Nitai, who invite everyone to join them in their transcendental dancing and chanting party. Then the visitors are introduced to the most merciful Sri Sri Radha Kunja Vihariji. The forms of Sri Kunja Vihariji playing his flute and Srimati Radharani showering blessings with her right hand captivate the guests and lift them into the transcendental realm. Then they stand before their lordships Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, who are continuously offered varieties of bhoga, the remnants of which are distributed as prasadam. Who would not be attracted? We sincerely thank you for establishing such a spiritual abode in Michigan with so much effort. As a result, we all have an opportunity to participate in rendering pure loving services to Lord Krishna. In the daily Guru Puja, we sing Shri Guru Charana Rati, Shri Guru Charane Rati, Aise Uttamagati, Jai Prasade Puri Sarva Asha. Attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is the best way to make spiritual advancement. His mercy fulfills all desires for spiritual perfection. Srila Prabhupada, you have given us the easiest path for success, constant engagement in your service. Please give us the intelligence and ability to follow that path. A team of devotees here is working to establish a long-term plan to beautify and maintain one of your dearmost projects, Sri Devasadan Mandir. We beg for your continued blessings so that they can fulfill this mission. As you have said, the material energy is very powerful, so please hold our hands tight because we have the tendency to run away from you. Begging you to forgive our unlimited offenses. Your humble servants at Devasadan Mandir, Detroit, Michigan, USA. Written by Jagat Guru Das. Here's one from Enugu. I challenge anyone to tell me where Enugu is. It is in Nigeria. Yeah, it's a city in Nigeria. Probably a little town in Nigeria. But there's devotees there, and they wrote an offering. Namam Vishnu Madaya, etc. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our most humble obeisances. All glories to you, ISKCON's founder Acharya. Dear Srila Prabhupada, you are Patita Pavana, the savior of the fallen. By your mercy, even a most fallen soul like me has gotten the opportunity to chant the holy name of Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada, you have saved me, and indeed the whole world, with the gift of Krishna consciousness.
I will forever remain grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this great movement. Please bless this fallen soul and all of us here in Enugu so that we will remain in Krishna consciousness and become your surrendered agents for spreading Krishna consciousness in this corner of the world. Jai Srila Prabhupada, your servants at ISKCON's Radha Govinda Temple in Enugu, Nigeria, and was written by Dasharat Panditas. Not bad, huh? Let's see if I've got something from Mauritius, since we have an old Mauritian here. Here it is, Mauritius. And this is the Vedic farm in Mauritius. There's several centers, right? Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances on this most... so you know who's writing. You probably can recognize the name. Varada Krishnadas? Varada. You know him. How do you know him? No kidding. See? I thought he would know, but you know. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances on this most auspicious anniversary of your divine appearance. I beg for your continued guidance so that I can be a tiny instrument for propagating spiritual knowledge in this misdirected society of ours. My vocabulary is quite inadequate to do justice to my attempt to express my deep gratitude for all you have given us, Srila Prabhupada. How does one thank a person who has left behind open homes of Lord Sri Krishna in every country, galleries of paintings depicting the transcendental Leela of the Lord and his many avatars, libraries of books containing the most valuable knowledge in the universe, kitchens where devotee cooks prepare and offer prasadam, the most delicious and purifying food in the world, numerous transcendental uplifting festivals, extended families of devotees in every country, solutions to all material problems, and temples and guest facilities in the main places of pilgrimage on the earth. Should I read that list again? You'll have to get the book. You know, we have many extra books this year. So when that store finally opens, you can get your own book. And those who actually pre-ordered can pick up their book. Srila Prabhupada, you gave me the rationale to mend my ways, to live in harmony with myself and my surroundings by embracing the principles and practices of Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for the causeless mercy you showered on this undeserving fallen soul. By translating the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam into English and providing your realized commentary, you have opened up an ever-widening corridor to the spiritual world, whereby one can understand, 1, the good fortune of human birth, 2, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 3, genuine spiritual dharma compared to compartmentalized religion, 4, the futility of struggling for material goals in this temporary material world, and 5, the process for achieving real happiness in this very life. If not for the astounding sacrifice you made at the advanced age of 70, this world would have continued accelerating on the path of degradation to hellish life. Your contribution is constantly challenging the status quo of the materialistic value system and ushering in a new world order for unity and peace. Way back in 1966, when you incorporated ISKCON in New York, your vision was clearly encapsulated in ISKCON's objectives, one of which was to bring unity and peace in this world by systematically propagating spiritual knowledge to society at large and educating all people in the techniques of spiritual life. You may be pleased to know that the vegan movement in the world today has become a strong force against the meat industry. Many leading personalities are aligning with this movement, which is actively educating people about the detrimental effects of meat on health and the environment. You consistently warned society's leaders of the deleterious effects of meat eating on individual and global consciousness, and people are now waking up to your call. Since July of 2017, it has been compulsory that new disciples undergo an examination to test their knowledge of your position and your teachings. Ways and means are being established to monitor the devotees' progress in understanding your books and preaching their contents. Through your mercy, your ISKCON movement is expanding worldwide. The world is facing a new addiction, the smartphone. This device is like a handheld television that allows one to communicate cheaply. It has transcended national boundaries and is mesmerizing literally billions of people, immaterial of age or gender. It is one of the biggest time wasters. The leaders and designers of the various applications are at their wits' end, not knowing how to deal with this phenomenon. This is yet another proof of how we are being misdirected by technology. The solution is to teach Krishna consciousness from a very young age. Only in this way will society be able to keep a proper balance and achieve the real purpose of life, which is to get out of the cycle of birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for your inestimable contribution to this world and for engaging this fallen soul in your ISKCON. Your servants at the ISKCON Vedic Farm in, forgive me, Bon Asu, pronounced? Bon Asuel? ACCU, Bon Alcohol. How did I miss it? Bon Alcohol in Mauritius. Hare Krishna. Well, here's one from a name of a city I cannot pronounce. Mpumalanga. Mpumal. It's in Africa, South Africa. How about Mumbai? We have 3 from Mumbai: Chowpatty, Mirror Road, and of course Juhu. Muri Chowpatty. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. This was written by Gaurangadas. Please accept my humble obeisances. On this most auspicious anniversary of your appearance, I would like to express my gratitude for so much I have received from you. Srila Prabhupada, your absorption and focus in following the orders of your spiritual master are a tremendous inspiration for all of us. In 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave you the order to go to the West and preach the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English language. From 1922 until 1965, you experienced so many ups and downs in your business life, in your personal life, in the Gaudiya mission, and in your various attempts to preach, difficulties that could have easily created hopelessness and shaken anyone's faith and inspiration. But you never allowed these obstacles to overcome your determination to carry out your Guru's order. You never got discouraged, but rather, depending fully on Krishna and having faith in the holy name and your Guru Maharaj's instructions, you continued preaching, courageously sailed alone to New York in 1965, and established ISKCON there in July of 1966. Srila Prabhupada, by your example, you taught us how each and every verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is like a precious jewel, and how by the currency of faith one can purchase that jewel. In the 1950s, when you read the verse from the Bhagavad Gita beginning, Vivasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kudunandana, and then the commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in which he says that one should make the instruction of the spiritual master one's mission in life, you took those words into your heart and with full faith redoubled your determination to preach in the West. Srila Prabhupada, you spent sleepless nights translating the Sanskrit and Bengali commentaries of the great acharyas into English to give us access to the treasure of so many of these jewels in your books. We pray at your lotus feet that we may also receive a small fraction of the currency of faith that you have, and purchase some of these jewels so we can imbibe these instructions into our lives. Srila Prabhupada, not only have you given us Sambandha Gyan in your books, but you have also facilitated us with Abhideya Gyan by creating the institution of ISKCON, which has all the facilities for us to practice what you have given us in your books. Ratha Yatra is one of the Lord's most esoteric pastimes, signifying as it does how the greatest devotees of the Lord, Srimati Radharani and the Gopis, having suffered years of separation from Krishna, are now pulling him from Kurukshetra back to Vrindavan in the chariot of their minds. You took this Ratha Yatra pastime out of India and established it all over the world, thus enabling anyone to come forward, pull the chariot ropes, assist in this divine pastime, and get the mercy of the Lord's devotees. On this most auspicious day, I would like to seek your blessings so that I can dedicate each and every moment of my life to serving in your mission by assisting the Vaishnavas in the mood of a servant of the servant with gratitude and humility. Your servants at the Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Temple in Chowpatty, Mumbai, India. Written by Gauranga Das. Very nice. Hare Krishna. Okay. All right. Well, here's one from Denver. New Butterwick Ashram. No author given. Dearest Srila Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Please also accept our attempt to glorify and please you on your divine appearance day. At Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2017, Sri Krishna compares the human body to a boat perfectly suitable for crossing the ocean of material existence, quote, having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds impelling it on its course. Srila Prabhupada, you are indeed the captain of the ship on our voyage back home, back to Godhead. In fact, it is by your continued mercy that we are even aware of the divine purpose of this human body. That knowledge alone is worthy of our unlimited gratitude. As the effects of Kali Yuga intensify, we see that the lost souls of this age are becoming more and more confused and desperate, adrift in a bewildering and apparently endless ocean of disappointment. Although you stayed in Denver for only 1 week in 1975, by our attempt to study, remember, and follow your ever-potent instructions, we at New Butterwick Ashram continue to tangibly experience your merciful presence with us. By immersing ourselves in your teachings, we are practically realizing that the activities of cultivating our own Krishna consciousness and of sharing Krishna with others are deeply intertwined, nourishing each other. It is especially appropriate, therefore, that the front room of the house you stayed in while visiting Denver is now a space both for devotees to engage in sadhana and for us to conduct outreach programs centered on chanting the holy name and discussing your books. In a letter to Kurandar Das, written on 22nd December 1972, you describe, quote, the spirit of enthusiastic service which is individual and spontaneous and voluntary. Our community is working to encourage and protect this mood of service that you so valued. By the strength of your example and your instructions on enthusiastic service, devotees are investing more deeply in your multifaceted mission by taking up and excelling in services that inspire them. By your mercy, the past year has seen us improve deity worship standards, expand Bhakti Shastri and other educational programs, and increase the quality and quantity of prasadam distribution through our Radha Govinda's restaurant. Devotees are taking leadership roles by organizing festivals, hosting outreach programs, holding public readings of your books, enriching devotee training, and distributing transcendental literature. We are particularly happy to report that we now have a Sankirtan van and several traveling book distributors. All of these devotees can trace their inspiration and spiritual nourishment back to your divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, you remain the captain of our ship through your gifts of the holy name, devotee association, your Bhaktivedanta purports, gorgeous deity worship, and the blissful activities of sharing Krishna with others. Please accept our heartfelt gratitude for engaging us in the service of your lotus feet. Our shared vision is of a devotee community where we accept our challenges as pathways to better service and our successes as opportunities to glorify you by our personal and collective examples. May we always cooperate for your pleasure. Your aspiring servants at New Butterwick Ashram, ISKCON, Denver, Colorado, USA. Jai ISKCON Denver. Yes, Maharaj. Indradumna Maharaj doesn't write. We haven't read Shiva. Who is this? Shivaram Maharaj and Giriraj Swami. I was waiting till more devotees come, but I guess it's time. Yeah, no. The answer is no. We haven't written. But maybe time. Pushing toward 9:40. Yeah, I'm just sort of. Radhanath Swami. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitiname Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastaleshatari. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I sincerely offer my life at your holy feet. Today, remembering you, I am reflecting upon your room at Sri Sri Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan. I heard that you once said this room is your eternal home. When you first resided there in the early 60s, it was a simple small room with crumbling stone, mud walls, and an austere Indian bed with crisscross ropes as a mattress. In the seclusion of early morning, you would sit on the floor behind a low wooden table. In the light of an oil lantern, you clicked away on a manual typewriter, translating Srimad Bhagavatam and composing purports destined to be distributed by the millions and become the basis of a worldwide movement. Across a public courtyard was your kitchen, a small oblong room where you cooked your own meals by squatting on the earthen floor and placing clumps of coal into the side of a rustic clay cooker. Years later, in Los Angeles, devotees offered you a spacious, beautifully furnished residence. There, assisted by thousands of followers, you translated with a state-of-the-art dictation machine and had expert cooks eager to prepare meals for you. One day, while sitting in the elegance of your new rooms, you shared your heart with a devotee. I am feeling separation from my home in Vrindavan. You have seen my rooms at Radha Damodar Temple? I am longing to return there. But for me, that would be sense gratification, because my Guru Maharaj wants me to spread Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world. Srila Prabhupada, your ecstatic love for Guru and Gauranga and your limitless compassion for all beings form the true foundation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Still, it is your humble nature to attribute your success to all the devotees who assist you. This year, Shyamasundar Prabhu, one such devotee who served several years as your personal secretary, released the first volume of his memoir, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. A little background of how this book came to be is inspirational. A few years ago, Shyamasundar Prabhu was on the verge of death due to liver cancer. Only an immediate liver transplant could save his life. When the message was released, Gopinath Prabhu, who lives in India and had never personally met Shyamasundar Prabhu, asked his wife Parijata Devi for her blessings to risk his life and go through the painful ordeal of donating a major section of his liver. Their child Rasanath was then 1 year old. With tears of gratitude, she said, "Please do it. You may never again have such a special opportunity to please Srila Prabhupada." In this very real expression of love, we see how you are living in the hearts of the devotees and will continue to do so generation after generation. I met that devotee in Mayapur a year after this operation. And yeah, he was glowing with health, you know, and I asked him about it. He kind of poo-pooed it. It was no big deal. But it was quite a thing, you can see. Coming out of that difficult surgery with a new window in his life, Shyamasundar Prabhu is offering his heart to sharing your pastime with the world. Armed with the holy names of Krishna and the philosophy and culture of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are freely giving the essence of Dharma, Prema Bhakti. By your words and example, you are teaching us how Bhakti is to be practiced with a truly simple heart, simply to please Guru and Krishna, without selfish desire, arrogance, or the will to control. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. You are the light of our lives as you beckon all souls back home, back to Vrindavan, the realm of eternal love. Your fallen and unworthy servant praying for your mercy, Radhanath Swami.
Now, 3 hours north of Calcutta, in the rice fields of India, you would think that that's the remote place.
Yeah.
Cosmopolitan, Gainesville, Florida, but Prabhupada, so he's feeling far away from home in Vrindavan. A whole different way of living.
Shivaram Swami. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances in the dust of your divine lotus feet. All glories to your divine grace. A few days ago I was writing the outline for this offering based on a talk you had given in Jagannath Puri in 1977. As I was preparing to write, I received a Viber message. I don't know what that is, but I guess like a text message. From Sanatani Devi Dasi, one of your Budapest book distributors and a truly wonderful Vaishnavi. I read the message and found it so amazing that I decided to make it the basis for this offering and put the Puri talk off for next year. Her message read, Yesterday I met a man on book distribution. Maybe he's from America, but I'm not sure. He gave some Lakshmi and I gave him a chant and be happy. And when he saw the book with Prabhupada's picture, he said, I know this man. I asked, you mean personally? He said, once I gave the last money from my wallet to a Hare Krishna temple, and that night this man, Prabhupada, appeared in my dream and he said, I will guide you and I will help you through your life. He said that the man said that this dream was a strong experience in his life. He was spending just 3 days in Budapest, but I invited him to the Krishna Valley. Maybe he will go. And of course he took the book. He was a very kind man. I was thinking how merciful Prabhupada is. Dear Srila Prabhupada, if a little devotional service performed just once means you are willing to guide a stranger for life, no doubt to Krishna, then what benefit do you have in store for devotees who have given their lives, homes, and souls to you? This is just like Lord Brahma's prayers, where he makes the same observation about the fathomless riches of Krishna's mercy. And this is a quote from the 10th canto, chapter 14. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives and hearts are all dedicated only to you? I share Brahma's bewilderment. If this is what you give to a one-off donor, what will you give to those who give their everything? Your transcendental opulences bewilder me. Therefore, on this glorious Vyasa Puja day, I can only bow at your lotus feet, paraphrasing Brahma's words, admit that while some devotees may say, I know all about Srila Prabhupada, I can only say that your kindness and opulences are beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. Your amazed servant, Shivaram Swami. Okay, now we're going to read.
Walks by the table.
Nice.
Went away completely happy.
Thank you for that, Maharaj. Okay, Giriraj Swami, and I think he's recounting his adventures now and writing the history of the building of the Giriraj Swami. My dear Srila Prabhupada, and by the way, just to, something you don't know, but the annals of editing this book, whenever Giriraj Maharaj writes an offering, he wants me to send it back, showing the corrections that I made, and then we have a little discussion on ones that he may not like. And so he's very much an author. He's a meticulous author. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my prostrated obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to your divine grace. I offer my respectful obeisance to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisance unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You're kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. After the conveyance of the Juhu land was finally signed in October 1973, that means they finally got legal right to the land, you declared it was a good fight. Someone should write a book about it. And in Vrindavan in June 1977, you repeated the instruction when speaking with Tamal Krishna Goswami. Tamal Krishna, always you came out victorious. Always. I have never seen you ever defeated. In Bombay, it was absolutely impossible. It seemed to be impossible. Srila Prabhupada, nobody encouraged. Nobody. Not a single man. Who could see such a big project would come out? Tamal Krishna, only you could see that. You and Radha Rasabihari. Srila Prabhupada, nobody. Still, I was determined. No, this place is very nice. Tamal Krishna, they should write a book about that. Srila Prabhupada, yes, it is worth writing. History. You had already instructed me in February 1971. You should write. That is your first business. Over the years, you repeated this instruction, and so I thought you would want me to write that book about Juhu. As it is, I am the only devotee who was intimately involved in the project from the time you got possession of the land in 72 to the time the temple opened in 1978. So, with the encouragement and assistance of many well-wishers, 3 years ago I took up writing about you and Juhu as my first priority. In doing so, I became absorbed in your divine qualities, activities, and words, and I came to understand you, and even events to which I was party, in new, deeper ways. I felt like I was mining a limitless reservoir of precious gems. Now, by your and Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari's and the devotees' mercy, I have finished writing the basic narrative of the book, entitled, I'll build you a temple, a good fight, and a promise fulfilled. That I build a temple is Prabhupada's quote. He promised them when there's so much disturbance there. In the process, I have come to appreciate you and your servants even more. First and foremost, those servants who assisted you in the Juhu project, and also those who have supported me in my efforts to write about it. Your transcendental desire to establish a center of Krishna consciousness in the remote Bombay area of Juhu, we should say then remote, I think now it's less remote, in the then remote Bombay area of Juhu was awakened even before you left for America. When you would visit Sumati Morarji, you would pass the land and think, this would be a nice place for a temple. Years later, Mr. Nair sold you the very same land to be, quote, profitably utilized for a big purpose as yours. And that was, I guess, Mr. Nair's words. You know, he was a con man, but very nice. He was very polite at the beginning, as they are. And you brought Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari there from their residence in a posh flat in Akashganga, overlooking the Arabian Sea, to a rented pandal on the property. From there, they were moved onto a wood plank platform under cloth supported by bare bamboo poles. Then, for the rainy season, into the Chatai hut with devotees. and on Janmashtami 1972 into a makeshift structure of bricks and asbestos sheets. But you had vowed to them, "I will build you a temple." And finally, after years of struggle, in 1978, we were able to offer their lordships the temple you had promised. You expressed your spiritual desire to build Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari a temple with great intelligent endeavor. In your purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:13-50, that's almost the last verse, Prabhupada wrote, you explained, quote, "The word svakartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. Thus, in, quote, "a place where there was no temple, a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee." This is from Prabhupada's purport. By the strength of your desire, an overgrown a plot of land in Juhu became a place of pilgrimage and devotional service. And in the long process, you engaged so many of us in devotional service, as you explained in your introduction to the Nectar of Instruction. This devotional service is a sort of cultivation. It is not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. There are many different methods for people who want this, but cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. The particular word used by Sri Rupa Goswami in this connection is anushilana, or cultivation of following the predecessor teachers acharyas. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. We can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with a bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciplic succession. Therefore, the execution of Krishna conscious activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. And Giriraj Maharaj continues, "You engage us, your disciples, and so many others, in devotional service authorized by the principles of Scripture and the instructions of previous spiritual masters, developing Hare Krishna land on a grand scale, and after your departure, by your mercy, we were left with tremendous challenges of work and responsibility for our own spiritual benefit and for the benefit of all those who would associate with the temple. In spite of all opposition and obstacles, you remained perfect in Krishna consciousness, an ideal sadhu. During one of your talks on Srimad Bhagavatam, you spoke about our situation in relation to a verse describing the qualities and behavior of a sadhu." And this is a famous verse. Those who know can chant along. "Titikshava karunika sudidak sarvadehinam ajata shatta bhakshanta sadhavak sadhubhushanaha." Translation: the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. As Bhagavatam 3:25-21, teachings of Kapila to his mother. You perfectly exemplified this verse, and while discussing it, you explained to us your inner mood and motivation, but you did so in such a way as to include us. And here is a long quote from that lecture, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Here, all the boys and girls, the devotees, they are concerned with Radha Krishna. That's all. Their whole business, day and night, is Radha Krishna. From early morning, 3 o'clock, to night, 10 o'clock, their only business is Radha Krishna. That's all. Therefore, they are sadhu. And so many people are criticizing. We are not getting the sanction to build because we have so many enemies. They say we are creating a nuisance. We are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and that is a nuisance. That is a nuisance. This complaint is going to the police, so that is very difficult. Filled with emotion, you exclaimed, "Therefore a sadhu is advised, titikshava, tolerate all this nonsense." I heard on Prabhupada tape, tape he says exactly. What can be done? We have no other alternative but to tolerate. Nobody's coming to help us. Our business is so thankless. Because we are trying to create one temple, so many enemies are giving hindrance. You cannot do it. Therefore, titikshava, you have to remain sadhu. You cannot become a sadhu. You have to tolerate. What can be done? At the same time, you have to become merciful. You know what has happened in this place, Hare Krishna land? So much attacked by the police, by the municipality. Break this temple. We could have gone, concluding, what is the use of taking so much botheration? We have hundreds of temples outside India. If people here are not liking it, let us go away. No. Karunika. We have come to distribute Krishna consciousness. We must tolerate and give this message to the people. Karunika. Very merciful in spite of all trouble. Okay, time out. Sorry. A lot of work on the voice in the last 2 days. Why should you want to be merciful? Padadukka dukki kripam buddhiyas tamaham prabhadye. A Vaishnava understands, quote, these people are engaged like cats and dogs in sense gratification. They are misguided, and in the next life they'll be punished. Let us do something for them. This is karunika, out of mercy. There is no question of getting something, money. No, we have got sufficient money. But just to become merciful upon these fallen conditioned souls who are suffering on account of becoming animalistic without Krishna consciousness, the preacher, the sadhus, these are sadhus, titikshava, tolerant. Never mind. Whatever hindrances and tribulations they are offering to us, never mind. Tolerate. And surida. Surida means the heart is so nice. The Vaishnava is always thinking how a man can be saved from the clutches of Maya. He has no other desire. The Vaishnava is so kind that Suridak Sarvadehinam. He is kind not only to the human beings, but to all embodied souls, cats, dogs, trees, plants, insects. A Vaishnava will hesitate to kill even and Prabhupada says a mosquito. He always said mosquito. Very reasonable pronunciation. Sarvadehinam. Not that I shall take care of my brother only. I am good and my brother is good. No, surida. Sarvadehinam. And ajata shatrava. When one is living in that way as a sadhu, why will others become his enemy? The sadhu does not create enemies, but people become enemies out of their own character. How can a sadhu create enemies? Krishna says, Sarva dharman padityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. And we are simply teaching, my dear human being, my dear friend, you become a surrendered soul to Krishna. So what is our fault? So we don't create any enemy, but they become enemy. Why shall I create enemy? Suridak sarvadehinam. But they become out of their own nature. So we are in this society, human society, and because we are spreading Krishna consciousness, the envious, who are more dangerous than snakes, are putting so many impediments. But we have to tolerate. We have no other alternative. You see? Ajata shattavak shantha. Be peaceful. What can be done? Depend on Krishna. These are the ornaments of a sadhu. Titikshava karunikak suridak sarvadehina. You must know what is a sadhu. First, a sadhu is a devotee, and if he's a devotee, then all the symptoms are there. Now you find a sadhu and associate with him, then your path of liberation will be open. Srila Prabhupada, it has been, that was all quote from that lecture. Srila Prabhupada, it has been our greatest good fortune to be able to associate with you, a perfect sadhu. And by your words and example, you encouraged us to try to become sadhus as well. And by the service of such a sadhu as you, one actually develops the qualities of the sadhu. Along with your desires as a preacher, you also had your personal commitment and service to Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari. My dear sir, you had told them, you just stand here and I will build you a temple. And you did. You fulfilled your promise. And what a temple you built, and what a struggle to do it. but you did it. It was a good fight, but you did it. You kept your promise and built them a temple. All glories to your divine grace, to your wonderful service to Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari, and to all of Mumbai, all humanity, and all living entities, including this fallen soul. And all glories to your servants who, by your mercy, are continuing your sublime mission. And then he quotes the famous verse, Mukam karoti vachalam pungam lankayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinataranam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of all fallen souls, whose mercy turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. Hare Krishna, your eternal dependent servant, Giriraj Swami. Very nice. Oh. Well, I'm going to take the opportunity now, when there are so few, to read my foolish offering. In the other bag. Next year we should try to have it come pumped into the kitchen. We can hear too. Probably not. Why was he sitting over there? It is? Oh, it is going? Oh, good. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have assumed the worst. Okay. Sorry for the delay. Okay. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my prostrated obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to you on this most blessed day, the anniversary of your appearance in this world 122 years ago. Srila Prabhupada, I've been rereading the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita lately, and experiencing your wonderful, adventurous, bhakti-saturated life anew. One of the things that strikes me on every page is your unique combination of 1, the highest spiritual realization of prema bhakti, 2, your absolute faith in A, the prediction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that his name would resound worldwide, B, your spiritual master's order to preach Krishna consciousness abroad, and C, the power of the holy name to transfer lives. And 3, your extraordinary courage and your determination to fulfill your Guru's mission. And all of these are infused with your oceanic compassion for the suffering conditioned souls. I was certainly one of those suffering conditioned souls who benefited from the result of your efforts. Your ISKCON society, filled with young, vibrant Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who became my new family in March of 1973. In hindsight, I can see Krishna's merciful hand in inspiring me to join where and when I did. 2 weeks after I joined the old Henry Street Temple in Brooklyn, you visited the temple. Suddenly, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I joined in March 27th, and he came on April 13th. 2 weeks after I joined suddenly there was hardly enough room in the ashram to lie down, as the temple filled with many devotees from all over the Northeast United States. At this distance of 45 years, I remember only a few highlights of your visit, one of which was your class on Queen Kunti's prayer at Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. In the course of your lecture, you said something that really struck me. Krishna is the Supreme Father, All these living entities within this material world, they're exactly like the misled child of a big rich man loitering in the street. Therefore, the greatest benefit to the human society is to give him Krishna consciousness. Greatest. You cannot give any material benefit. Any kind of material profit will not satisfy the living entity. If he's given this Krishna consciousness, just like the same process, a bewildered boy is loitering in the street. If he's reminded, "My dear boy, why are you suffering so much? You are the son of such and such very rich man. Your father has got so much property. Why you are loitering in the street?" And if he comes to his consciousness, "Yes, I am the son of such and such big man. Why shall I loiter in the street?" He goes back home. That's the end of the excerpt. I felt that I had been, quote, a bewildered boy loitering in the street who had come home by joining your movement, and I felt sure I would go back home, back to Godhead, if I simply followed your instructions. That prayer of Queen Kunti's was the first verse I ever memorized. Srila Prabhupada. I heard in a later lecture your request that we memorize all of Kunti's prayers. I'm still working on that one. But all the verses I've put to memory I regard as your gifts, Srila Prabhupada. Treasures I can call upon at any time to remind me of the philosophy, focus an idea in class, pray to you, the Lord, or Srimati Radharani, recall the specifics of Krishna's form, qualities, and pastimes, share with friends, etc. As so eloquently said in the Bhagavatam 12:12:50, Balaram, you know this one. Krishna Katha is Shastvan Manaso Mahotsavam, an eternal festival for the mind. He included that in his nice little essay in the souvenir this year. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for your invaluable books, guiding us back to Krishna's lotus feet. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for japa and kirtan of the Mahamantra, bringing us into intimate contact with Krishna himself in sound form, purifying our hearts, awakening our love for him. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for the precious association of your loyal followers, with whom we can enjoy the 6 loving exchanges mentioned in the Upadeshamrita. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for 45 years of service to your words in the form of your books and BTG magazine. As I wrote a few years ago, as years go by and books go out, we see what life is all about, to serve your mission and our Lord's by spreading wide your sacred words. As well, you want us all to strive to let those words direct our lives. This safest path will lead us home, no more in Maya's realm to roam. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for allowing me to visit your magnificent temples in Mayapur, Vrindavan, Mumbai, and other places. These flourishing centers all give testimony to the ongoing success of your mission and the bright future of your movement. And thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for your incredibly brave undertaking of leaving idyllic Vrindavan and coming penniless, friendless, and homeless to hellish New York City so that you could let Lord Chaitanya work his miracle through you and plant a seed of bhakti in countless hearts. This heart, for one, will remain eternally grateful and indebted to you for your kindness and compassion. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada, your fallen but no longer forlorn servant, Dravida Das. Hare Krishna. And I can't resist, but I'll give you the first part of that poem, which I added later, which is suitable for this day. O Prabhupada, O Prabhupada, on this great day when you appear just like a ray of Krishna's vast effulgence bright, to give this blind world back its sight, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts and pray with deepest love that we may serve your lotus feet in every circumstance we meet. Hare Krishna. Okay. Any other suggestions, Maharaj? Those are really good. Shiva Ram Swami. Indra didn't write. No, this is the time. We do. We do have a growing group in the kitchen, I'm sure, so should write it now. And I hope I'm not being offensive by saying this is likely his last offering here. And it's, yeah. But here you really get an insight into his realization about the holy name. Okay. Gunagrai Das Goswami. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear most Srila Prabhupada, please accept my prostrated obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. On this most auspicious day of your Vyasa Puja, I would like to share, oh, by the way, just a little background before I continue. You know, there's a deadline, April 15th, and the deadline came and went. I hadn't gotten his offering. Then about a week later, I get an email from him. Can I please have a little more time? You know, I'm struggling to write this, you know. And I said, of course, Maharaj, take it whatever you want, you know. And finally, after a couple more letters like that, he submitted it. So it was a struggle to write this, but...
I should just preface, Guru Maharaj and his better half, they got this building.
Yeah.
They marshaled the forces, they raised the money, they got the DDT loan to make the down payment. They purchased this building, which was a factory, a movie theater, an Elks Lodge, originally built in the 30s as an army barracks. And they turned it into this beautiful temple. They raised the money, they did the design, they marshaled all the devotees. So we really, you know, we're living in this building, but without the very much what would we do? What would we have? So they made so many devotees. He's one of the founding fathers of this community.
For sure. On this most auspicious day of Vyasa Puja, I would like to share with you that during this challenging period of my life, which is filled with the difficulties of advanced cancer, what is most important to me are your wonderful self and your gifts. And first among those glorious gifts is the divine kirtan of the holy name. My first taste of that divine name, which came at a Sunday feast kirtan in Buffalo, New York in 1969, impacted me in a way that I had never felt before. It gave me newfound faith in your Lord Krishna, along with faith in the knowledge you were imparting. It forever changed the direction of my life and established you as the captain of my ship and my lowly self as the sweeper of its deck. During those early years, my faith and enthusiasm for kirtan kept increasing the more I heard you and saw your ecstatic smile and transcendental energy, such as when you leaped into the air in ecstasy at those memorable Ratha Yatra kirtans in San Francisco in the early 70s, and as you chanted and danced enthusiastically in your temples and on Harinams, undeterred by your aging body and failing health. In these and many other ways, you never stopped showing, through your example and instructions, that holding kirtan, both among ourselves and for the general public, is our true life and soul. Since that very special moment at the Sunday feast in 1969, when Krishna became real to me, you have led me on a most wonderful adventure that never seems to end. As the years have passed, I have taken part in thousands of joyous kirtans filled with the happiness of chanting congregationally. I have experienced the miracle of Krishna's holy names working magic on me and many others, making devotees out of sinners, eradicating interpersonal problems, inspiring bonding among individuals, and even making friends out of enemies. Along with some devotees who are caring for me, I've now been in Vrindavan, a most special land that I have been given access to by your mercy alone, for over 2 years. Each night we welcome guests to our Vrindavan Kirtan Sangha, which by Krishna's grace has become a well-known event internationally. And also, the very highlight of my life. In fact, it has given me life, thanks to your divine grace. I never cease to be amazed by the variety of our guests, the excitement we all feel, the joy and affection among us, and my feeling and mood after having taken shelter of the devotees and the kirtan. Even after I may have first felt too much discomfort even to leave my bed to enter the adjoining room to attend the kirtan. In fact, many days I feel so inspired by the kirtan that after getting help to get dressed, I then walk unassisted to the kirtan and dive in. And by the time the kirtan ends and the loving interactions have come to a close, my pains and woes miraculously seem hardly worth paying attention to. What a marvelous natural pain medicine, and what a benediction to have been given that medicine, the holy names, by your divine grace. Among your many gifts resulting from our kirtans, Srila Prabhupada, one I find very special is that young, blossoming devotees who I just met, who I knew during their infancy, childhood, or youth, and who have grown up under your shelter, have been coming to our Sangha, playing instruments, and leading the most inspiring kirtans, having been inspired in their own homes and yatras. The association of these devotees is wonderful, and for me to connect with them while we chant and then to bond with them more intimately after kirtan are experiences I will always cherish, and the friendships continue. And lastly, I find it of ultimate significance and certainly remarkable that you have shown by the success of your glorious worldwide movement that due to your dedication, purity, and unalloyed surrender, you have achieved your cherished goal of fulfilling the prediction of Lord Chaitanya and the desire of the Guru Parampara that the holy name of the Lord would be heard in every town and village of the world. Now, he's been putting a lot of explanation points in here, but this one he was 2 explanation points. I just want to let you. I feel truly blessed and fortunate to be taking part. Kirtan is filling the hearts of your devotees and bringing together people of all classes, nationalities, and ages who enthusiastically chant and dance together as they gradually break free of all bodily distinctions. Your gift truly offers all of us that taste of the nectar we always sought but had never been able to identify until you found us and rescued us. In our kirtan room is a large, beautiful painting of your divine grace done by a dear friend, and I'm sure that dear friend is Yudhishthira. In it you are smiling in great happiness and showering your infinite mercy on all of us. I so badly need that mercy and the sublime shelter of the holy name, especially during this most challenging time. So, Srila Prabhupada, I thank you and thank you again and again. Wherever I am, I pray that your divine self and your simple truth, just chant Hare Krishna, will remain forever foremost in my heart. Praying to remain your humble servant always, Gunagraya Das Goswami. Hare Krishna. Very moving. Maharaj, any guidance you can give? What? Okay, we're going to, just to let us know, 11 o'clock we do the Pushpana. So if someone wants to read their offering, I think now's the time. Yes, why don't you do that? Yeah. Let me just cue it up. And another great hero of this movement, and that. Oh, I know. Yeah, he doesn't write to this now.
Read Malatis as well.
Yeah, why not? Can you address this?
Yeah, no, I'll figure it out. I hate these things. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanagana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First, I'd like to thank Dravida for all the work he puts in on this book, and especially for granting Gunagraj Maharaj extra time. Thank you so much. We are in debt to you for that. Okay. So this is Mukunda Goswami's offering, and he has written a poem, which I hope I can do justice to. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastita Deshatarine. 1896 Calcutta. A heart was born softer than butter. And when Armageddon would in later years threaten, he taught Krishna's names one must utter. From the start liberated and always elated, the mridanga he beat made a sound so sweet. Then in 67, when a drum came from heaven, his playing excitement generated. Dear Srila Prabhupada, the parade you'd staged at an early age, the Rath you towed was Krishna's abode. All these were signs of a budding sage. In just a short time, your peers you'd outclimb. You trotted the globe, your home was the road. Hare Krishna, your life was sublime. You're here to stay, Kali's at bay for 10,000 years. Music to ears, oh happy, happy day. Friendly to guests who came in streams, you tore to bits their impersonalist dreams. Against progress you rallied. You said science had failed. Against progress you railed. You said science had failed. It fell apart at the seams. You wrote in the night while disciples slept tight. You changed the world, and with texts unfurled, you made many sinful wrongs right. Your books were your mace for a dying race. With logic and reason always in season, 'twas a philosophy many'd embrace. In public you'd speak, you never were meek. With words profound your cherished sound was loved by the strong and the weak. Before you was madness, a dreary blackness. You answered questions and found the connections that always turn sadness to gladness. You taught God supreme, that he plays with a team and conquers all, not as a puffball, not as a out-of-reach dream. Your devotees, infallible soldiers, with actions stronger than boulders, they made people think, brought them to the brink. Some bowed, dipping their shoulders. The trail you blazed left scholars amazed. You questioned the knowledge they learned in college. They left your darshan with consciousness raised. You're here to stay, Kali's at bay for 10,000 years, music to ears, oh happy, happy day. Your words sugar cane, sweetened, stout, and lame. Always the master, your wit was faster, yet humility named the game. One saw oceans of cream as in a dream, a miraculous thing. We wanted to cling to what seemed a bright sunbeam. When you'd appear, 'twas like, spring is here. All would kneel and things got real for the far and the very near. When Bangladesh preaching was unleashing, your followers were bolder than a British soldier with a Bengali's mom heart a-beating. When you'd reminisce, moments not to miss, your past you'd remember with full surrender, and disciples would roll in bliss. What you had to say to us every day, serve the Lord with lotus or sword, we'd choose the most practical way. You're here to stay, Kali's at bay for 10,000 years, music to ears. Oh, happy, happy day. Your servant, Mukunda Goswami. Chai. Oh, yes.
So Prabhupada knew this was coming from India, but he didn't know when. And so he got, Mukunda Maharaj was sitting with Prabhupada in his room, in his apartment, and somehow they buzzed up, oh, there's a package for you, to sign for Prabhupada was Mridanga. They came to the staircase, they
Very nice. Thank you.
And something like that he remembers cutting probably to wait in line to use the bathroom.
Mhm.
And he remembers cutting in front of Prabhupada saying, "I'll be just a minute, Swami." And you can ask him to tell you the story. Every time he said it, he goes, "What was I thinking?" He hit his head about 3 or 4 times. If you have a chance, ask him the story. I guarantee you, what was I thinking? He's such a wonderful person.
On a personal note, I don't have an offering for Srila Prabhupada, but I did want to tell one little thing that happened, and it's not, I don't want to talk about myself, but that's my experience with Srila Prabhupada. I was initiated originally by one of the earlier zonal acharyas who then left the movement. And I was back here in SanDiego when it happened, and Mukunda Goswami was down here visiting. And he came to me, we're in the back alley actually, having this conversation. And he said, "How are you doing? You know everything that happened, and how are you, and what are you doing? What are you doing to take care of yourself?" And I looked at him and I said, "Maharaj, I just took shelter of Srila Prabhupada because I didn't know what to do. And there was no one, I didn't have anyone I could really ask. And so I'm just accepting Srila Prabhupada as my guru." And he said, "That's exactly the right thing to do. That's what you should be doing." And that was very, very helpful to me to hear from him, and got me through. And then, of course, I took reinitiation from Mukunda Goswami. So I feel very linked to Srila Prabhupada, and I'm very grateful for that. Okay. Malatis. Yeah. Well, this is Malati Devi Dasi. Srila Prabhupada, you are the dearmost person within my heart and within my life. Please accept my humbly offered obeisances at your lotus feet again and again and again. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastata Deshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. In all the 3 worlds you are not to be equaled, and that is a fact. So it is that each day I submit my head at your lotus feet with the same plea. Please allow me to be of service to you today. And each night I again plead, please allow me to do better tomorrow. While this practice may appear routine, these moments with you are supremely real. At that same time, while this reality can be blurred by so many factors, the supplication remains the same and my intention remains the same. Please allow me to be of service to you day after day after day. Please tell me what I can do for you in particular situations. The blurred reality tries to find a manner in which to remain true to you and your mission, even when it seems that every once in a while this could mean closing my eyes for a moment to certain realities on the ISKCON ground, or remaining silent like a dull doll when it's obvious there is something askew that is not being addressed or acknowledged by us, your time-worn soldiers. So I continue to ask you, please let me serve you. But the real question is how to do so in such times. For that to be understood, I must clearly improve and increase my own level of devotional aptitude and surrender. In the meantime, I am forced to beg you to please give me an indication of what I should do in what seem like perilous times, both for your mission and in my fading life. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds, and that is a fact. You are famous because you are cent% pure devotee of Lord Krishna and have not deviated from your spiritual master's instructions, and that is a fact. You are glorious because you have used your life to rescue fallen souls without consideration of your own convenience, and that is a fact. You are incomparably compassionate because you gave up your position of frolicking in the forests of Raja with Krishna and his cowherd boys to come to this wretched world, and that is a fact. You are most dear to Lord Krishna, and therefore he personally came to you when you sat down to write your books about him, and that is a fact. Therefore, I could never bear to leave your service, and that is also a fact. Your forever Dasi, Malati Devi Dasi, as named by you in January 1967.
She would cut her throat for me, and I would cut my throat for her. That was the relationship.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have heard that story before. Does someone have an offering, or we'll read some others? Thank you very much.
No, you suggested it. We have numerous extra books. If someone wants to read these, we have a lot of extra books. Those who paid ahead of it, please pick up your books. Hopefully the store will be open during the feast, after the feast. They're all there. And, but, here we go. It's not very long. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. Especially on your divine appearance day, I first strive to express my unbounded gratitude for your purely transmitting the Mahamantra, a bestowal apparently so simple yet truly so miraculous. As the years and decades in bhakti pass, increasingly even this lowly disciple can catch a glimpse of the reality that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur declared, quote, "In all 14 worlds there is nothing to be had except the holy name of Krishna." Next, I urgently thank you for opportunities to engage the senses in Krishna's service. For the past 2 weeks, I have been meditating on the words of your purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 5:12-13. A devotee has no other ambition than to serve Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Krishna consciousness movement was started to engage people 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord and in His glorification. So that was one of your foundational motivations? You began ISKCON as a device, quote, to engage people 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord? In the current ISKCON context, how can we fulfill this desire? It would seem that whether devotees live in their own home, in an ashram, or in a devotional community, somehow every devotee, regardless of one's accustomed level of bhakti intensity, should have ready access to the impetus, the inspiration, and the capability, the techniques, for engaging in devotional service morning, noon, and night. To you, I acknowledge, although so inadequately, my eternal indebtedness for your pure gifts of the Maha Mantra, accompanied by absorption in devotional service. We call out to the whole world, tactfully yet persistently proclaiming that even in this most desperate and degraded era, your process, inherited from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly works. Aspiring to be your servant, Devamita Swami. And now I call on Sampada. Please, do you have something written, or you can? Okay. And we'll go to 11 with devotees reading their offerings.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances. Every year I struggle with writing an offering to you because I feel like I am devoid of any love or devotion. I try to dredge up some feeling in my heart, and then usually I just give up. I hear devotees glorify you in such beautiful ways, and I think, I can't speak or write like that. So this year I thought that I would just think of all the things that I have to be grateful for, that I have only because of your mercy. So here is my list. Thank you for bringing me to the Association of Devotees, even though I was not seeking it or even wanting it at the time. Thank you for allowing me to attend the first Ratha Yatra down 5th Avenue in New York City. Thank you for giving me the association of so many saintly persons that led amazing kirtans and cooked amazing prasadam in the New York City temple. Thank you for arranging for me to join that temple just at the time that you came to visit. Thank you for giving me a cookie from your lotus fingers. I remember that I didn't want to eat it, but I just wanted to hold on to it. Thank you for giving me so many wonderful friends who have remained friends for 35 or 40 years. Thank you for giving me a nice husband who's your disciple. Thank you for allowing me to dress God, cook for God, make flower arrangements for God, even though I have zero realization of who I'm really doing these activities for. Thank you for halava, sweet rice, gulab jamuns, sandesh, pakoras, puris, kachoris, and deep-fried cauliflower and potato sabji with curd and sour cream that Pavamana is now busy preparing in the kitchen. Thank you for telling me about the true nature of this material world and how to find real happiness, even though I'm so foolish and ignorant that I still think that I can enjoy here. Thank you for leaving your homeland of Vrindavan and going through so much austerity for fallen conditioned souls like myself. I pray that I can someday have at least a speck of appreciation for all that you went through and all that you have given me. Your aspiring servant, Sampada Dasi.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharne Nivasesha Sunivare Prachadade Satarne. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to your divine grace. I wrote this the night before, so you'll understand. Tomorrow is your appearance day, meaning today, the glorious day you appeared in this world. You have transformed the modern world in ways that may take many generations to appreciate. If one studies your life, he begins to understand the workings of the Supreme Lord. Though you had a normal upbringing, as every child grows, events and circumstances unfolded which revealed a path, a direction, an unmanifest destiny for the future. For example, the Rath Yatra, as introduced by your grace, was enacted by you in young age. Your strong will and leadership was foretold in this simple childhood play. You created the event in every aspect, including distribution of prasadam and dancing and chanting on the street. Later on, you met your spiritual master as a young man, and given the seed of future spreading of Krishna consciousness outside of India. In the intervening years, you had a regular family and successful business. Your education was more than adequate to ensure a well-to-do family life. But not only that, you were able to understand the world situation and later planned for the expansion of Krishna consciousness all over the world. You started the Bhakti Godhead magazine, writing the articles, printing, and distributing it by yourself. When you finally left India, all the ideas and the life experiences were utilized by you to bring a grand success in spreading Krishna consciousness in your final years. Taking a step back, it is clear that you had a mission that didn't just spring up out of nowhere. You became an instrument in the hands of Krishna and the previous acharyas. Though you had a complete plan, it took time to come to fruition. Your firm faith in the instructions of your Guru Maharaj ensured your success. Although some will say out of envy that you were just in the right place at the right time, it was painfully obvious that this was not the case at all. No one invited you to come, and your message of austerity was not likely to bring many followers. In spite of all kinds of disturbances, diseases, lack of funding, discouragement by others, etc., you prevailed. In the end, it looked like your life had been scripted from beginning to end. We find that many circumstances which appear like good luck were in fact planned so carefully by you that it seemed automatic. Sending some new disciples to a foreign place like San Francisco was not destined to be successful, but as it turned out, it was. You got many good devotees from there, many individuals who were dedicated to your mission and helped you in many ways. It seems that somehow you knew that these people were there, just waiting for your command. Jayananda, Tamal Krishna, Samasundar, Malati, and many others seemed to come out of the woodwork to be engaged in your service. It almost looks as if they were planted, as the demigods were planted when Krishna appeared. Who was making these arrangements? How was it possible? In my opinion, there is no doubt whatsoever that you were empowered to spread Krishna consciousness with the help of your sincere disciples. Behind the scenes, Krishna enabled this whole movement to spread, exactly as he predicted only 500 years ago. Somehow, due to extreme fortune, I got pulled into your movement when I was a young man. I didn't really understand the scope of what I was getting into. I read your Bhagavad Gita as it is, but beyond that, I did not really understand what was going on. Spreading love of God and other slogans didn't really mean much to me. I was just part of something big, and I was just glad to have something useful to do. Unfortunately, I've still not found some wonderful way of serving your mission. I still just try to do the needful as much as I can. By your grace, somehow, I do understand a lot more than I did when I joined. I'm able to explain the basics pretty well, but for my foolishness, I am more like, do as I say, not as I do. I want to thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for coming to my country and giving myself and so many others the opportunity to learn about Krishna and our relationship with him. So long have labored hard to do what I thought was right, only to find out that the law of karma acts even if one is ignorant of it. I was and continue to suffer my evil deeds, but I can see that one day I will become free from the bonds of my past deeds and be engaged in loving service to Krishna and Radharani. I beg in the meantime to find some way that I can serve you and your mission in whatever way I'm able. Now that I'm going into the twilight of my life, I hope it doesn't take too long. Your dedicated servant, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
When did you first meet Srila Prabhupada?
In 1967, I started coming. I met Srila Prabhupada in 1967, coming to the temple, but I met him face-to-face 1968 in April.
How old were you at the time?
I'm 16.
And what was the address of that temple?
26 Second Avenue.
Was that the first temple that you
Yeah.
Just so they know who's talking.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances at your transcendental lotus feet. Samsara Davad Alalita Loka Trinaya Karunya Gana Gunatvam Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam. So meaningful, the translation is, the spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. This being sung and recited daily resonates so truly about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's unlimited compassion, genuine humility, and amazing potency are resplendent, more than words can describe. Many remembrances stand out of all the times Srila Prabhupada exhibited those qualities from devotees all over to myself, whoever came in contact with Srila Prabhupada. I'll never forget when I was 17 living at home that my mother got to meet with Srila Prabhupada. At that time, Srila Prabhupada wanted all the girls to get married. When my mother found out, she was very skeptical because she was already wary about Krishna consciousness, and then due to my sudden betrothal, she definitely wanted to speak with Srila Prabhupada. At the day of the meeting, I didn't go with her upstairs to Srila Prabhupada's quarters, yet I was so happy that she was having the precious opportunity to have association with Krishna's pure devotee. She was always respectful in her behavior towards Srila Prabhupada. I excitedly waited to hear from her how the meeting transpired. When I finally got to ask, as I was so excited to hear everything, my mother said she could not understand a word he said,
but but saw him as a wise person and felt he fulfilled a fatherly figure for me. I was so glad, to say the least, as she derives such benefit having Srila Prabhupada's merciful association, and said something positive about him too. At the end, she gave her consent for me to get married. Also, once Giriraj Maharaj's parents came to see Srila Prabhupada out of concern. Afterwards, they left feeling appeased. A devotee remarked to His Divine Grace, "Everybody likes you, Srila Prabhupada." And Srila Prabhupada replied, "Because I like everybody." Srila Prabhupada's compassion made an impression on so many individual souls, showing such depth of kindness. Hearing one pastime recently is something Tamal Krishna Maharaj related was in India. Srila Prabhupada was upset that his godbrothers were criticizing that the devotees didn't read the Sanskrit properly. At one point, Srila Prabhupada was very adamant, saying to his godbrothers, "My disciples might be unqualified in so many ways, but one quality they have is, when I tell them to do something, they do it, as they have full faith in whatever I say." Tamal Krishna Maharaj repeated it a few times and said we certainly were not qualified in so many ways in terms of etiquette and Vaishnava behavior, but Srila Prabhupada was so patient and kind. There are countless instances of Srila Prabhupada's genuine humility. Always but always, Srila Prabhupada gave all credit to his beloved spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. He not only revealed in words, but also in ordinary dealings. One time, the devotees were at the airport in the waiting lounge with Srila Prabhupada before his plane was to depart. One of the authorities at the airport approached Rupanuga Prabhu, notifying him to have the devotees vacate the lounge to make more room for the other passengers. So Rupanuga made the announcement that the devotees had to go, but no one budged, not wanting to leave Srila Prabhupada. Instead, all of a sudden, Srila Prabhupada got up to leave. Rupanuga said, "Not you, Srila Prabhupada, just the devotees." Srila Prabhupada said, "Aren't I one of the devotees?" Just hearing, remembering, and relating your pastimes, Srila Prabhupada, brings such true happiness, and even though not striving for peace, it comes automatically through taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna's dearmost devotee. A letter you wrote to Mahapurush in 1968. The spiritual master and Krishna are two parallel lines. The train on two tracks moves forward. The spiritual master and Krishna are like those two tracks. They must be served simultaneously. Krishna helps one to find a bona fide spiritual master, and a bona fide spiritual master helps one to understand Krishna. If one does not get a bona fide spiritual master, then how can he ever understand Krishna? You cannot serve Krishna without a spiritual master, or serve just the spiritual master without serving Krishna. They must be served simultaneously. Your potency knows no bounds. This truly amazing story reveals this. A letter was written to Shivaram Maharaj a number of years ago. This is a letter I'm sure many of you have heard already, but it's just so powerful. Dear Shivaram Maharaj, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I hope you do not mind my writing to you. I have never written to a spiritual master before. You do not know me. My name is Bhaktindora, and I live in Hungary. I am 14 years old, and I live at home with my mother and older sister. In 1992, I went to the Hare Krishna festival with a friend. I was not very interested, but I enjoyed the chanting and dancing at the end. After it was over, I bought a book, The Science of Self-Realization. I do not know why. Generally, I never read. I think it was because of the chanting. I took the book home and cannot remember what happened to it. One day my mother found it and was very angry with me. She thought that I was reading this kind of thing. You see, our family members are very strict Catholics. They thought Krishna consciousness was some kind of brainwashing. Actually, I wasn't reading the book. I had forgotten all about it. Somehow it just appeared. Anyway, my mother was going to throw it away. My grandmother, who is 68, was in the kitchen at that time. She lives in the apartment upstairs. She came in and took the book. She looked at it and scolded me in a very heavy way. I thought that would be the end of it. I did not mind it so much as I was in a lot of Maya at that time. About a week later, I overheard a conversation between my mother and grandmother. Granny was saying that this was not an ordinary book. She said that what Prabhupada was saying is what Jesus Christ said, and that Krishna is God. I was very surprised. She said that we should listen to what Prabhupada said and chant Hare Krishna, because that was the religion for this age. There was a lot of talk about how Christianity was no more, and no one was following the Bible, but what Prabhupada was pure and perfect. Things really took a turn from there. One day my grandmother visited the Namahata Center here and began to chant on beads. She also began to buy Prabhupada's books one by one. She was spending all her pension on buying what she called the beautiful Holy Bhagavatam. Sometimes she could only afford to eat potatoes, but she kept buying the books. The devotees came to her flat and helped her to set up an altar. When I went upstairs, they had taken all the pictures down, and there were Krishna pictures everywhere. That was really the beginning. One night, Granny had a dream about Prabhupada. Something really happened to her then. I don't know what it was, but she began to get very enthusiastic. Next, she began to get the whole family involved. I mean, not just me and my mother and sister, but her 2 sons, their wives, and 6 children, as well as their brothers, sisters, and relatives. Before, she used to carry a Bible with her and quote Jesus Christ. Now she has a Bhagavad Gita and quotes the good Lord Prabhupada. She became a veritable transcendental terror. Everyone in the family has to chant at least 1 round a day. In addition, Granny made everyone become a vegetarian, including my dog Sikra, and we offer our food to a picture of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. Now I am also getting out of Maya and chanting and reading a little also. Where I go to school, my friends inquire about Krishna, as they know I am a devotee. The whole family goes to the Namahat, all 16 of us. During the Christmas marathon, we all try to distribute Prabhupada's books. Even Granny would take books with her to the market and sell them to the vendors. Everyone is afraid of her because she is fearless. They all think she has gone crazy, but she does not care. Now she is saving to go to Budapest to see the newly installed deities. She has heard that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda came to Hungary and are being worshipped there by the devotees. She says she wants to see God just once in this life. At this year's Hare Krishna festival, you were speaking to the guests after the kirtan. You must remember my grandmother, because she came and sat right beside you and asked so many questions. At the end, when you stood to leave, she even kissed your hand. Remember? I also wanted to ask a question, but I was shy. Could I please ask you now? I hope you do not mind, Maharaj. I want to know what kind of person Srila Prabhupada was. He must be so dear to Krishna to have spread this message all over the world. What are these books that changed my family so much? How is it possible that he can speak so powerfully through them? You must feel very fortunate to be his disciple. How great a man he is. Sometimes when my granny chants in front of a picture of Krishna, she cries. How does Prabhupada do that? I want to cry like that too. Granny dreams of Prabhupada, and sometimes she talks to his picture, although it says on the cover of the book that he passed away. Is Prabhupada really dead, or is he still alive? Do you think I can meet him someday? I am sorry that I have gone on so. I would like to be a good devotee one day and help you and Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness. Please could you answer my questions? Your servant Bhakti Indora. Oh, now I can't find it. Here. Reading this is so very humbling, moving, uplifting, strengthening of Shraddha, and happiness in devotional service all the more at the same time. Srila Prabhupada, you are our eternal spiritual master and guide, loving spiritual father and grandfather, an exalted pure devotee of Krishna. I bow down to your lotus feet in gratitude, always remaining your servant and daughter. Kanchanbala Das.
You want to keep it? Later. Hare Krishna. The span of Srila Prabhupada's consciousness covered the full spectrum of reality. By this I mean that while his consciousness was fixed in Goloka Vrindavan, he also had both feet firmly on the ground. He functioned seamlessly and flawlessly in both the transcendental and the material worlds. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me that once Srila Prabhupada offered him some luglus. Tamal remarked, "Prabhupada, I've never tasted anything so wonderful." Srila Prabhupada casually replied from the kitchen, "Oh, that's Mother Yasoda's recipe." When one devotee was trying to explain to reporters that Srila Prabhupada was hearing from Krishna metaphorically, Srila Prabhupada interrupted and said, "No, Krishna personally speaks to me directly." At the same time, to close the deal on a donation of the land of the ISKCON Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada used the rope from a mosquito net to survey the boundary line of the property. During the construction, he flushed a few balls of chapati dough down a toilet to make sure it was working. While being realized in Goloka arts of intimate service to Krishna, Srila Prabhupada was expert at executing the mission of Krishna consciousness in this world as well. With the benefit of passing time, I am increasingly amazed at the grace and power of Srila Prabhupada. How did one man, in such a short time, at such an advanced age, accomplish so much? By the way of explanation, I recently came across the following verses and purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Quoting, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered almost all the fallen souls by directly meeting them. He delivered others by entering the bodies of great devotees such as Nakula Brahmachari. This is from Antya Lila. And still reading the verses. To deliver people in regions throughout the universe who could not meet him directly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally entered the bodies of pure devotees. Thus he empowered living entities, his pure devotees, by manifesting in them so much of his own devotion that people in all other countries became devotees simply by seeing them. In his purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, unless one is empowered by the personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one cannot spread the holy names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra throughout the world. Persons who do are empowered. Therefore, they are sometimes called Avesha avatars, or empowered incarnations, for they are endowed with the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we look at all that Srila Prabhupada achieved, can we honestly doubt that he was empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? This dynamic between the Lord and his devotees is explained by Krishna himself in the Gita. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Srila Prabhupada once quoted this verse and then gave the example of different materials have different levels of electrical conductivity. Rubber has practically none, water is better, copper is even better still. Why this difference in degrees of electrical current that these varied materials can transmit? The answer is, this is Prabhupada's example, the answer is that the less resistance of the material, the more of the current can flow. Similarly, the more one is surrendered to Krishna, the less resistance in the form of personal desire and selfish motivations. Thus, the more of Krishna's potency can flow through such exalted souls. At the same time, these wonderful accomplishments by Srila Prabhupada were not easy. They did not happen without great personal effort and sacrifice on his part. From Bhagavatam, it is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of the people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is personally present in everyone's heart. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada voluntarily took on personal suffering to push the mission of Lord Chaitanya forward. His determination was rooted in his profound empathy. In the early days of ISKCON Mayapur, one of the project managers noticed that Srila Prabhupada was looking over the edge of the balcony of the Lotus building. Interested in what Srila Prabhupada was looking at, the devotee also looked over the railing. There he saw the pit where the devotees threw their used leaf plates and clay cups after taking prasadam. In the pit was an old lady and some children picking through those discarded items, hoping to find a few morsels of food. After a few moments of silence, the devotee remarked to Srila Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, sometimes I feel so sorry for these people." With a penetrating look of deepest compassion, Srila Prabhupada replied, "Why just sometimes?" A soft heart, Prabhupada writes in Nectar Devotion, a soft heart is compared to honey, to butter, and to nectar. And the condition of the mind is compared to sunshine. As honey and butter become melted even in slight sunshine, soft-hearted persons become easily melted. Nectar, however, by its nature is always liquid, and the hearts of those who are in pure ecstatic love of Krishna are by nature always liquefied, just like nectar. Srila Prabhupada's nectar-like heart was always flowing with sympathy for the suffering of others, whether they were in poverty or materially well-fed, but spiritually starving. The mood of great devotees is expressed by Prahlad Maharaj. Quote, "My dear Lord Nrsimha, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they're only interested in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or to the forest to meditate with vows of silence. They're not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I don't wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, no one can be happy. Therefore I wish to bring them back to the shelter of your lotus feet. In the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada brings it home for us. Quote, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas and the forests. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. This is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. Krishna says in the Gita, persons who acted piously in previous lives, and who in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. A devotee asked Prabhupada, Madhavisa asked Prabhupada about this verse. How does this apply to me? What to speak of my lacking pious deeds? I was performing sinful deeds until the moment I met you. How is it then that I've been allowed to engage in devotional service? Srila Prabhupada responded, it is because I have created your good fortune. Now all I ask in return is that you go and create good fortune for others. This is the spirit of the Hare Krishna movement, to feel grateful for our deliverance and thus be inspired to try to deliver others. Quoting from the Bhagavatam. Oh, yeah, it's a lecture. Prabhupada says, the beasts, the birds, they cannot offer any gratitude. But I am a human being. I have got developed consciousness. Therefore, I must feel grateful and offer my gratitude. That is my duty. May I always feel deeply indebted to you, Srila Prabhupada, your grateful servant, Bhadranayan Swami. Hare Krishna. Oh, the Abhishek can go on forever. But we have to stop on time?
That the Abhishek must take place at 11 a.m. What's the time now? All right, so I'm going to have to find out if we have any more time.
Hare Krishna. Today is appearance day of our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada. Today we have to remember him and honor him, worship him, glorify him, his activities, and remember him. We were always in a pit of ignorance. Prabhupada's teachings pull her from the pit, and he gave Krishna consciousness for us. The important thing is how to break our sins. That is very important. And Prabhupada was telling, just surrender to Krishna. See, this material planet is formed in such a way, while you are walking, while you are sleeping, while you are respirating, while you are doing all activities, you are committing sins. So how to break these sins is very, very important thing that we have not learned in the school, college or university. Prabhupada is telling, just surrender to Krishna. Surrender means chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you are going to destroy your sins. You are going to purify yourself. You are going to get back to Lord Krishna. This is very, very important. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mantra, he was telling. And Lord Krishna is telling in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that knowledge is better than ignorance, and meditation is better than knowledge, and renunciation of fruits of activities is better than meditation. Renunciation of fruits of activity means that we have to contribute to the temple. Temple is giving Lord Krishna very beautifully. They are arranging flowers. They are giving food, prasadam. So much money they are spending because to give Krishna consciousness. So it is our duty. I'm telling to my grandsons, getting to my kids, give contribution as much as possible, because renunciation of fruits of activity means that the results of our activity is our salary, our gains. So we have to give something to Krishna, always to chant Hare Krishna mantra and give to him. And all we have, Prabhupada told, all we have to do is just listen, trust our Gurudev. And Srila Prabhupada has given a key to open our hearts to Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The goal he has explained is simply madly love Lord Krishna with great devotion. He told, chant, drink, chant, dance, and eat Krishna Prasadam, then you will get back to Lord Krishna. The major contribution of Prabhupada is the Sankirtana movement. So he told Sankirtana means it is a prayer, it is a meditation, it's a yoga system. When you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you will be feeling the presence of Lord Krishna before you. So he's telling simple thing to get back to Lord Krishna, the procedure of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. See, this Prabhupada story is very, very important, because he is telling how to destroy our sins. This should be okay. Okay, just I'm going out.
1 minute? 2 minutes?
Okay, 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah. So Prabhupada was telling this, how to destroy our sins is by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then this chanting is a prayer, meditation, and it's a yoga system, and that is going to destroy our sins, and we will get back to other. There is no other procedure available in the whole of the world except Krishna consciousness will take us back to God Krishna. Otherwise, we have to suffer in this material planet. Prabhupada was teaching in Vrindavana. One time he was telling, if you don't follow the Hare Krishna consciousness, then you are going to born as a monkey just outside like that, he told him. So please chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and be happy and get back to Krishna. Thank you very much.